in excuse me, are you specializing in ethical hacking or pen testing?
No, so yeah, cybersecurity is a very broad career. So like there are so many things you can specialize on. My main focus right now is just cloud security. Like I'm sure you guys have heard of Amazon, like AWS cloud, Azure
Yeah.
for Microsoft, that those kind of environments. That's actually what I'm focusing on right now because that is the future, and a lot of systems today are being moved to the cloud for most companies. So that's actually my main area of focus right now, like securing those environments, like cloud environments. But yeah, cybersecurity is huge. It has so many different areas that you can
Okay.
specialize on. Yeah.
So that's like the zero trust architecture stuff. And like I said, I didn't want to like take this away from it, but just when you had mentioned that, I was thinking about somebody who does very similar work. So that's why I was more curious, I guess, than anything.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, there is a lot of demand on this career, and it's a very secure job, because I'm sure as you guys have seen on the news, right, with all the data breaches and things that are happening, the amount of jobs for security is just increasing, regardless of what is happening with the economy, essentially. So, so yeah, a lot of opportunities in this area. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Basilio, before we move on, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm in Jacksonville, and so I'd love to connect with you to trade team members. I've got some for rehabs and painting and plumbing and a lot of important stuff, but we're definitely in need of more handymen on that side. So I'd love to connect and network and see what kind of resources we could share with each other as Jacksonville investors. Got a bunch of multifamily here.
Gotcha. No, nice meeting you, Jeffrey. And yeah, let's exchange our contact info and let's help out each other. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Hey,
Thanks,
and then
guys.
really quick, just to kind of piggyback on a point that Frank was making a little bit earlier about, um, well, I'll tie it into, the power of networking broadly, but, what we literally saw like 2 seconds ago about, hey, I also invest, in XYZ market. That was literally the exact same thing that happened with me last week. Um, uh, for the Detroit market specifically. So if anybody to invest in the Detroit market or is already investing, that's currently where I'm getting my first property under contract. But yeah, quite literally, I was, you know, honestly minding my own business and was, somebody who was brand new just kind of popped in and said, "Hey, I also invest here. Let's, exchange numbers. Let's, do, basically like a Zoom call or a call and, kind of just pick each other's brains about the market." So this really is where, quote unquote, the rubber meets the road and how you get to, the best way I can describe it is your network is your net worth. And I know for those who are familiar with lumberjack landlord says that a lot. Uber says that a lot. This really is where that power all comes together. It's just being around one another, learning from one another. Admittedly, this is one of the things where I know, because I had a little bit of homework for this week. I have been somewhat down for the count with a. You can kind of hear it a little bit with my um, I have been down for the count pretty much, but I've got a few different provide some more information more so next week because I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was, especially over the weekend. But yeah, I just wanted to make that one quick point is that it's really just that power of us all being able to kind of get together, figure out what we know, what we don't know, and that's what ultimately kind of moves us forward together collectively.
That's great. Thanks, Chester. Hey, Sean, how are you? Do you want to
Hey
chat
there.
for a moment? Let people know where you're at and what you're doing?
Sure. So my name is Sean. You might see me in the chat on some of the YouTube guys is with the handle Oculus, which was the name of my old D&D character that I kept for a long time ago. I've been investing, if you count the research, for about 2 years. If you count the actual like buying and actually doing it part, maybe about 1 year. I have 3 units. I have a duplex and a single family. I've done several different strategies. Before that, I was a stock market investor, and I didn't know what it was called, but I always figured I would kind of do the what a lot of people refer to as the 4% rule. And I just I had kind of always thought about real estate investing, but got really interested in it a few years ago. Let's see what else. I invest in Atlanta, Northwest Metro Atlanta. And yeah, that's about it.
And you live in that area too, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let's see. Stephen, you were saying you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep, I'm in Pittsburgh. How's everyone doing?
Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
So you live and invest in that market. How long have you been at it?
So I'm trying to move to Pittsburgh, so I haven't moved yet, but brand new. Just trying to connect with people, connect with Mark Oshiro and Mikey and stuff like that. So hopefully we can all share our knowledge together.
Okay, perfect. And I see the comment there about Mikey and a multifamily lead. Are you working, Mikey, or can you talk? He might be working. He's in Hawaii, and it's a little bit early for him there. So we can probably come back to him. How about you, Sam? How you doing?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Hi, Frank. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Sam Farjo. I invest in north of Houston in Texas, and I own 2 single family homes. Both long term, and I have so far good tenants and have so far good tenants. So I'm kind of that's a good start so far. I've started 2 years ago in 2021. 3 years ago, 2021, I purchased my first property, and then I recently bought a full a house that was abandoned. So now the experience is not just lipstick remodeling or renovation. It's gonna be a job that requires work all the way from the foundation to the roof, and we're trying to make this property livable again and try and rent it out. And I'm still also maybe exploring the model of renting by room, so co-living or renting by room. So that's kind of something I'd like to know. Working on that, maybe that will
Welcome
work
to
in
the
my
dark
market
side,
or
Sam.
not. Yeah, that's true, Jared. And we'll see how that goes. So far, but it requires more work for sure. So I would say, but yeah, thanks, Frank, for holding these meetings. We always a lot of value. So and welcome to the new people here.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah, it's going to be really great. I believe. And I was kind of reflecting on. I think we've been doing these since. Well, I think we might have started them before the February event. I don't know. It was right around there when we went to Vegas. I think we had just started doing them. So it's been a while now. And you guys have all been really awesome. Let's see. So Stacy, do you want to jump in there for a minute? Are you ready to talk? Are you still driving?
Oh, let's see here. I I'm not driving. I just can't figure out how to get my phone out of safe driving mode.
Oh,
So you just gotta deal with the picture
yeah, the
So-
picture's nice.
until I figure it out. So still kind of a newbie. I almost exactly 2 years ago started researching. My husband was the one who wanted to get into real estate. His dad was very handy, and we've been all over the country with his job, and it was always on the back burner, never good timing. And then we moved back to Fort Wayne, Indiana, about 6 years ago, and it was a government move, and our realtor was assigned to us. She'd been doing it for a few years, but had just worked with families, and we lucked into her. Helped us find our house, and then chugging along a few years, kids are growing, and I just had the epiphany that I'm never gonna get my kitchen remodel done on what we make right now. Unless we start doing some other things. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, one rental at a time, building wealth one house at a time, something like that. Started listening to Bigger Pockets. I work for myself. I have a eBay store that I've done for 17 years. And so while I'm working on that, I've just been absorbing everything. So we got a HELOC from our house. I would say in August of 22, found our first property. Actually, the realtor that was assigned to us, I reached out to her, and she had since then, in the last, when was that, 4 years, started working with investors and had her own investment property. So we stayed with her. She's amazing. She's very huge part of our team. And so she found this duplex that was perfect for us, turnkey on 1 acre in a flood zone, but 100-year flood zone. So my annual insurance on that is about $1,100. Duplex that it didn't need any work. It was priced at 140, and there was a bidding war, and shocker, I know. And I got a call later that evening, it was a Friday, and said, give us your best and highest. You got one shot at this. And my parents were supportive. They were accidental landlords and hated it, but they were supportive of what we were trying to do. My dad offered us a line of credit at $200,000 to get this house. They thought it was a great deal. So I said 175, no inspection, all cash, and we got it. We weren't the highest offer, but we were the only one that were not looking to displace either tenant. So that's how we got that. And then so we bought that on Friday the 13th in October of 22. So I'm not superstitious here. And it was, turnkey. It didn't need any work. We had one very high maintenance tenant. I tried the binder method with them because they were well below market rates. I failed miserably. Still can't master that one. And then the high maintenance tenant was moving out in 6 months. So we only raised her maybe $100 a month. And then the other lady actually ended up negotiating. She wanted to get a pet, and I brought her up close to market rent, and was fine with the cat. Was always fine with the cat. She just didn't know that. And then that next, when was that? Next March, our realtor had a property come up that I saw a half hour after she listed it. Perfect property, It had been a foreclosure, bought at sheriff's sale. The guy slapped a new roof on it and put it on the market 3 weeks later. We got that also off the MLS. Again, another bidding war. It was priced initially at 99,000. We bought it for 111, and it has 3 city lots, a garage workshop, and a single family home with another garage. And so I split off the power from the large garage from the house, rent them out separately. And then October of last year, we bought another single family home right around the corner from it. This is all in the Waynedale area, if you are familiar with Fort Wayne at all. And it's a burr. It was a 2-1, but it actually had a 300 square foot addition not accounted for. So it's listed as 800 square feet. It's actually 1,100, and we spent maybe 2,000 to get that 3rd bedroom, and we can refinance that after October. February of this year, I was scrolling through Facebook, saw the duplex that we drive by all the time was for sale. It came on 2 acres, and it was built as a true duplex side by side. Each side has 900 square feet and then a 900 square foot finished basement on each side. So we threw our hat in the ring on that one. We were only one of 2 investors on that. And we got that because our realtor, again, was very chatty and letting them know exactly where we were in the process. So I owe it to her. And we bought that one for around 200,000, and it comes on 2 acres. And it's already zoned for multifamily. So we're hoping to eventually put a couple more duplexes on that property. So that's where we stand. I'm renovating that current property. Hopefully we'll be done in August. We've got a stop work order on one side. I am working through, so if anybody has any tips on that, I would appreciate it. So yes, well, once we're up in full vacancy, we'll have about 7 tenants.
Why did they do the stop order on you?
Okay, so the one side had not been renovated, touched since like 1965. They did a little bit of work in the bathroom. They had replaced the shower doors, which caused a leak probably about 20 years ago or so. When tenant moved out, we discovered the leak. Not leaking anymore, but the flooring was very soft. We had to pull all that out. The plywood underneath the bathtub needed replaced. Our plumber was cutting wood in the front yard, and it's on a busy street. Commercial inspector came by, saw it, went inside, shut the whole thing down. So we're waiting on the structural engineer report to be completed. Hopefully it's close. And then we have about $3,000 worth of fines that are quote unquote negotiable to work through, and then getting the permit to finish the bathroom. We can finish the rest of the house. We just can't touch the bathroom yet.
Okay. Well, it sounds like
so that's my current predicament.
It sounds like you had a lot of good things go your way.
We have.
And that, you brought up a good point with, it sounds like your agent an investor as well?
Yes, she is. She has several properties herself.
Okay.
Yeah, that was key. As far as our team goes, we got connected with most of our guys through my husband's job. A lot of they're in law enforcement, and they invest in rental properties. One of them retired and started his own handyman business, and then he hooked us up with our plumber / HVAC guy, and then our realtor got us our painter and drywaller.
Oh, that's great. In the beginning, you said your husband was the one into real estate. Were you always on board, or what?
Nope. Nope. I did not pull that trigger until I was on board. But once I was on board, I don't have analysis paralysis. I jump right in and I do it, and he trusts me.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you get it done. That's great.
Yeah,
you.
well, being already self-employed for 17 years kind of, help that process. I think if I was still a W-2 employee, I would have been more hesitant to take the leap.
Yeah, I'm always thankful for Cynthia, my wife, because the first time that I tried that, I jumped in without any education and pretty much lost it all. And she's still willing to, she's definitely on the journey with me again. And we're doing a lot better this time than we did the first time. But I'm just really grateful for her. And it's great when both of you are, you have the same vision and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there
Yeah.
are enough challenges, right? I mean, challenges come up and you got to
Oh my
work
gosh,
through those
yes.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had actually worked together before in a previous life. We were married, but we worked in an insurance office together, so that wasn't entirely new to us. And he, he's the W-2. Obviously, I don't even use my income to try to get homes. And then he actually retires in 9 years, or roughly 9 years. And they have until 57. So he's hoping to retire a little bit before then with his pension, insurance, and the rental property.
Sounds like a
Stacy,
great
what
plan.
what area did you say you were investing in again?
Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's been all over the news here in the last 6 months or so. It's being a great, affordable place to live, and I really wish they kept that on the down low.
So you're gonna pull permits when you get that kitchen?
Oh yes, I am gonna have a permit for everything now going forward. Oh my goodness, I'm hope that the other side, the lady moves out on Monday. I'm praying we just have to do a little cleaning and have it ready to go. I am a little hesitant with showing the property with a stop work order next door. However, I have a line of people waiting to see the place, so I don't think they'll mind.
Yeah, I don't think that would have an effect on your process there.
Yeah, and it's a true duplex, like I said, it's side by side, so there's nothing in that bathroom that's going to affect the other side.
Mhm. Very cool.
Curious, how far away is Fort Wayne from Gary, Indiana? Is that
It's about 2.5, 3 hours.
okay?
Fort Wayne is on the northeast side of Indiana, and Gary's on the northwest. So we're on the
Gotcha.
Ohio border. Of course, they're Illinois. That's something of interest. I know Zuber has mentioned the guy from that invests a lot in Gary, and it's got my interest. But man, the reputation.
Oh, you're talking about
that
Millennial
Gary
Mike?
has. Is it Millennial Mike who invests there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I could not remember who it was, and kudos to him. Like I said, my husband's in law enforcement, so I know a little bit more about Gary. And there's a Facebook group that I'm in. It's called Abandoned Indiana, and Wednesdays is all about Gary, posting pictures and telling stories.
Yeah,
Wow,
it
interesting.
seems like it's turning though.
I hope so. I hope it is.
Yeah. There's a few people there with him, and we actually got a turnkey in Gary as well. We
You
started
do?
Yeah, the turnkey company that Millennial Mike started with is the Olson Group
Really?
there. Yeah, and we've had it. It's coming up on a year in August, and
And how's that done for you?
it's doing well. It took a little while to get it rented, and when on their pro forma, they were expecting that we would get about $1,250 a month. It's a 3-1, and it took, after about 4 weeks and no bites, we dropped it to $11.95 and got a tenant within a couple of weeks, and they've been in there since then. Their lease is about to renew, and there haven't been any maintenance issues or anything like that. So the return was lower than we usually go for. I think the return when we bought it ended up being between 7 and 8% on cash return. But it was pretty much just to test the area out and see what it was like. We thought we were going to do more there, but since then we've really liked the St. Louis area that we're investing in.
Yeah. I'm partial to St. Louis. I grew up 2 hours outside of there. So
Oh,
kind of jealous you got property there. But that said, I like being 20 minutes from my properties. I'm hoping to build rather than buy after
okay.
this, but I don't know. You know, I'm flexible, but right now I got to get this duplex up and going before I can even really start thinking about that.
Yeah, and things change, right? Once you get a few properties, because right now we have 5 properties for 8 doors, and we're hoping to get a couple more to make it an even 10. And then after that, our strategy might change a little bit to go after some more small multifamily, because we would have 5 singles, a duplex, and a triplex at that point. So, but again, once we got restarted, I'm pretty close to retirement age now, so
Yeah.
Cash flow is what we're after.
Yeah, we're in our mid 40s, and Joe, my husband, has mandatory retirement by 57, and you have to have a good excuse to stay on that long. So good or bad, I did feel very rushed in the beginning, knowing that we had roughly 10, 12 years until he has to retire. But I don't feel like that anymore after this last purchase. I feel like we've bought 4 properties in a year and a half.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
It's quick, and I looking forward to slowing down a little bit. But we have 2 duplexes, 2 single family homes, and then the garage workshop that pulls in about $400 a month. Local U-Haul business rents that out from me.
Yeah, we talked about that, or we talk about it occasionally in the group about when we first start out and you're trying to figure out how many properties or how many doors you need to cover your monthly expenses. And in the beginning, ours was like 30 doors, but after you're in 2, 3, 4, 5 years and the cash flow starts to get better, maybe you don't need that many to retire after
exactly.
10 years. So yeah, so that's great.
Yeah, I think once we have all the properties paid off, if we obviously never increased rent ever again, which is not going to happen, we'll bring in about $8,000 a month.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Pretty happy with that. I mean, Fort Wayne's not an appreciation area. It's definitely cash flow. It doesn't cash flow as well as it used to, given that home prices rose, but it's still obviously a very affordable area.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Yeah, the affordability there, we've actually kicked around the idea because we're in California.
Yeah.
And our biggest expense is our mortgage. So, if we sold this place and moved someplace a little more reasonable, we could probably live on what we have now.
Yeah, I get that. We lived in San Diego for 4 years.
Right.
Never could afford a home out there. We always rented. That said, our little 1,400 square foot house that we rented in just outside of San Diego sold last year for like $865. It's just insane. I would have to sell all of my properties to find one affordable house that we could afford in that price range in California.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
That's beautiful weather. Loved it, but my bank account thanks me that I left.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I know. Right here, it's a little warm for us. It's about 80 today, but we're near Santa Cruz, so we're used to the fog rolling in the afternoon and stuff and cooling us off. But that's where we're at. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but you got a Burger King background and you're making me hungry. How do you say your name?
Well, my full name is Linoshka, but everyone in the States call me Lina. It's only 4 letters, easier to remember. And I have the background because I work for Burger King.
Oh, do you?
And I have constant so I have constant meetings. So I want to make sure that I support the brand at all times.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for joining us, Lina. Do you mind letting us know where you're at and what kind of investing you're into?
Yes, so I'm Basilio's wife. Yeah, so to make the long story short, this journey has been kind of his dream, and at the beginning I was not fully on board. I was like, oh my gosh, this is risky. He's the risk taker, in our family, like he's go get it. So the first property that we bought, I was kind of, oh my gosh, it was nerve wracking, but now we are more comfortable. And I'm learning more about the business. Doing the insurance part. Whenever we get a new house, I'm responsible to make sure that we don't pay too much in insurance. So I'm still learning.
Hmm.
Basilio
it's-
is the one who does the analysis and all the work.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. And now that you mention it, I have seen you maybe one other time in Dion's course. It's been a while,
Yes.
but yeah, it's great to see you again. And was there a certain point in time where you started to understand why or what he was seeing in real estate to help you get on board a little bit better?
Yeah, he's I would say that Basilio is someone that is very persistent, so he always was pushing me to learn, sending me to courses. He has a bunch of Excel files, and sometimes we drove around when we
No,
lived in
they just
Jacksonville.
see my pictures.
So he kind of push it like sometimes on weekends we had a list when we lived in Jacksonville of places that we wanted to, houses that we were interested. So he would drive around, and he would, teach me, the value of the house, what the repair would be, what the after value would be, and things along those lines. And sometimes I was the helper, the co-pilot. Like he would say, "Oh, that house is for sale. Google it and let's analyze it, and we will take that home," and things like that. So, but now I'm more comfortable when running the numbers. But he's mostly the person who does everything. But I do understand part of what he does.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think because if Cynthia and I were in your situation and I pushed anything on her, she would push right back, and she wouldn't she wouldn't do it at all. So
Yeah, and Frank, one thing that I wanted to mention is that, and again, I'm not saying this because Lina is here, but she's a big part of the success that we have today in real estate because, having a supportive wife is a very important aspect of becoming successful in real estate. So we went from not having that support at the beginning and have a lot of fear, hesitation on her end, to now have somebody, on my side that is not only supporting me, but also helping me with the business in certain aspects of the business, like the insurance, keeping track of the insurance policies and everything, which is a big deal here, especially in Florida. So yeah, I just wanted to thank Lena, in front of the group for her support, and helping me
yeah,
because she's a tremendous help.
I think that's awesome because it sounds like you both have busy careers to be also. And for one person to try to toe that line is be pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's very tough. Like we have a 4-year-old son, and we don't have family here in the States, and we both work remote full time, and we both have demanding jobs. So literally, like whenever we want to do real estate, like sometimes we stay late at night to make sure that we are staying on top of our business. And now, Basilio, I don't know if he mentioned this already, but we recently acquired a property in December, and my husband decided to manage it himself. So I don't know how he does it. Like he wears so many hats. My goodness.
Yeah. No,
Like he works full time. He's a dad. He's a husband. Managing the property. I'm like, oh my god! And that house is 1 hour away. That duplex is an hour away from us.
right.
So, and he's doing everything.
Yeah, I remember him sharing because you did the binder strategy on a tenant there, right, Basilio?
Yeah, I did, which at the end, the tenant actually decided to leave
Left.
Oh.
before even signing the lease. But at least the conversation, the method of explaining the tenant, right, the options instead of enforcing a new rent increase, it did work because I got a really positive feedback from that tenant. So I'm looking forward to apply it again in the future for any of these tenants when we get to the renewal phase, right?
Great.
And I'm just doing self-management on this duplex that we bought in December, not because I want self-management, but I think it's important for us to understand the business that we're in.
Mhm.
and that we know exactly how the property management side of things work, because we have to deal with property managers all day, and it is to me, it's like if they are doing that business and I depend or rely on them, because that's probably the most important person in that market for us as investors, we better know what they're doing and how they're doing it, and understanding the language and everything that they're doing, right? Because I think for us, unless we understand exactly the management of properties, it's very easy for property managers to play games, with us. And I had issues in the past with property managers and things that were like not, like I was not even understanding exactly the why certain things were happening. So I think at least managing this property will help me understand the process and everything, because I'm doing it now myself, and it's like I'm forcing myself to learn, right? That part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a big help down the line. We have had to fire 2 property managers. And we're in, I would say we're in 5 different markets. So we have 5 different property managers, and 2 of them were just not working out. So one thing, a mistake I made, like everyone says, is you got to be quick to fire if they're not doing what you need them to do. And I took almost a year before I did that. And it was, I think, mostly because I don't like conflict. And even though we were going to be on the phone and I wasn't going to see them face to face, it was still hard for me to say, hey, you suck and we're going to switch. So, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you guys. And I just had yeah.
Oh, just 2 really quick questions, one for Basilio and one for you, Frank. Basilio, are you part of Matt's course? The oh shit, I'm a landlord now what course? And then Frank, for you, oh goodness, what was it? I literally had the question. I'm trying to think of 2 different things at the same time while trying to eat and trying to make sure that the little ones are now trying to calm down. So a lot going on. What was this about? Oh, as far as for the different PMs, was this something where it was just more kind of you like did you lay out for them like, hey, here's where I think things could be going a little bit better, or was it just kind of like quote unquote out of the blue where it was just like, hey, I'm just going to go in a different direction?
Yeah. So maybe Basilio, do you want to answer first? Are you part of the Lumberjacks course?
So no, I haven't taken that course yet, Chester, but I'm planning to enroll on Matt's courses. I know he has a lot of experience, specifically with the things that I'm looking for or that I'm lacking on right now. So definitely, and I think I had a conversation with you, Chester, a while back, right? That I was interested in that course. So definitely, my plan is to, in the next couple of months, find a time window where I can really focus on that course and start learning and continue expanding the learning, right, from his course. I know he's really good at what he does. So definitely I'm looking forward to get that course and work on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his course is well worth it. I think you better watch it because he's not sure how many more he's going to do. So if you're planning on getting in, just check in with him, get his thoughts, because when we went through, I know he's going to have one more. From what he told us, he's going to do one more, and then after that, he wasn't quite sure. So if
Is
if
that the one where he does also the boot camps, right?
Yeah.
Boot camps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you buy the course and you buy the boot camp, but you need to buy the course to buy the boot camp.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah. And then for your question for me, Chester, so the first property manager, it was our first property back in 2021. It was the triplex, and I had started with, it's a company, well, I guess, yeah, the company is Home River Group, and my mom had a property in Texas, in San Antonio, and it's obviously a franchise, and they were managing there for her. So I thought they had done a good job for her. I would try them in St. Joseph. And it just started out bad because they're based in Kansas City, and our property was about 45 minutes away from their office. And they weren't going there regularly unless they had multiple properties to visit. And so they were doing showings sporadically and things like that. And we were new at it again, and I just let it slide for a little while, probably for about 3 months. And we were paying the mortgage on the building and stuff like that. We had one tenant placed when the turnkey provider turned the property over to us, so that was a lifesaver. But I was starting to search for a new property manager, and I started to fill out a survey for this other company, and then the questions were starting to get a little more serious, and I stopped for some reason. And then, like a day or two later, that I got a call, and it was a property manager, and he said, "I noticed you started filling out this." Basically, it was like an application, and you didn't finish. Is there some way I can help you? And that was a godsend, because he was our first really great property manager. It was February back there, it was snowing and freezing and all that good stuff. But he went and checked out the property. We hadn't even signed up with him yet. And he thought the property was nice enough and he could get it filled for us. So we went with him, and I fired the other company that day. And that was our first experience. And then our duplex, we started again. I picked the company out of they don't have phone books anymore, but I just looked in the phone book and found a company, and we were with them for about a year. And the communication wasn't great. Their maintenance fees were really high, and they would let the tenant slide a little bit further than I thought it should go. And luckily, when we went to Vegas in February, we met with Justin Camera, and he has several properties in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, and he gave us a name for his property manager, and we've been with them now for going on 6 months, and things are much, much better. They're everything's in-house with them. They have an attorney for evictions. They have all their maintenance, and the people that keep track of rents and bookkeeping and all that stuff. So we've been really happy with them. But yeah, and for example, in the old company, for an eviction, they were charging $1,500, and the new company, it's $600. And that was kind of the overall, all the prices were kind of jacked up a lot. They were adding percentages on top of things that didn't seem like they should be. So those were tough lessons to learn, but I'm thankful we got through it. What was I going to say? Oh, this really weird thought just popped into my head. If any of you have ever had that family member or child in your family that nobody wants to claim. Oh, hi, Mark. How are you? I just noticed that you just jumped in. Mark is our trouble child, the financial firefighter. He's probably working, but he's here. Just wanted to give him a
I'll just pop on for a little while. I wanted to say something about your phone book and AOL email address.
I'm old, man. I still have a Rolodex too. Glad you're here, Mark. Thank you.
Always here, man. Just here to support.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate it. So like I said, sometimes we get off topic. I hope that's okay. But we're just here to have a good time too. Are you working, Brett, or can you let everybody know where you're at and what you're doing? Brett's also a firefighter.
Hey guys, I am hanging out at Dairy Queen right now with my family, but all good. I'm in Milwaukee, where you're got your rental. Between a partnership and myself, we're at about 22 units now. And we self-manage all of them. I do most of the work on all the properties. Some of them are just pretty good when we bought them. Other couple of them we've done pretty much a full rehab on them. Replaced like all the plumbing and stuff like that. That's kind of the common issue, is the plumbing is all the cast iron and needs to be replaced. So we do that in the floors and sometimes new cabinets and stuff like that, whatever we got to do. By trade, I'm an electrician. So I do a lot of, update electrical and add new stuff as well. So we're going to start looking into doing some more burrs. So trying to find something a little bit cheaper that needs some work.
That's great. Yeah, and thanks for sharing the video the other day. Brett sent a video of his recent project, and looks like they're coming out really, really nice. Let's see. Michelle, are you there? Sometimes she just listens to.
Hi, guys.
Oh, hi, Michelle.
How are you? Well, I know how you are. You're awesome.
We're all doing great. We were just sharing a little bit about each other for some of the new folks that are joining us tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's been a couple weeks since I joined. So for all the new guys, I invest in Washington State. I am originally from Colombia. And this week I've been kind of trying to understand where I'm coming from. Like, where do because when I bought my first house, which is a single family home in 99, I started renting rooms because it's a 5-bedroom house that I could not afford. And I was making very little, and I qualified for an FHA loan because I had a good credit, but didn't have a down payment that was very sizable. And I didn't make a lot of money. So started renting my rooms. And this week I started realizing where I got that from. And it's my grandma. That's how she supported herself. And I didn't realize that until now. I mean, I knew it, but it just I didn't make the connection. She lived in a house that in Colombia had no floors. I remember it was a dirt floors, and the walls in Colombia, the buildings are blocks and brick, and there was no, like, the walls, you could see the breaks and stuff. She slowly made improvements. By the time I was older, she maybe had a room that already, had nice walls and stuff. The windows were all different, the doors were all different, but that's how she supported herself. And I'm sure subconsciously that's what I did. When I moved this to my house, I had to rip off the floors, I had to change the doors because they were falling off. So 7 years later, I refinanced, and I owed more than when I bought it, but I was able to refinance, and that's in 2006. So that's when I got in trouble, because I found someone that said, "Hey, you're refinance and you can get all the money out of there and buy another house." And I bought a house in a very expensive area, but it was also like not the best house, but that's how I was able to buy it. I worked on it, and got it to look nice, and I lived in it for a while, rented a room, and it was just me and my son in that house for a while. And about 5-6 years after that, so like in 2013, I would say, somewhere in there, I came back to my original house. I left my original house rented by rooms because my brothers lived here. So I had two brothers that are younger than me, and I left this house rented by room, went to the other house. And in 2013, it came back to my original house, and I started renting the house in this expensive area. But I didn't know what I was doing. And in that time, I was in trouble, right? Because I was on interest-only loans. 100% leverage on my first house. On the second house, the bank saved me because when they saw that I had refinanced the house and I had a bunch of money in the bank, because my hope was to use it to fix the houses. So like I would take the money out. Now I have 2 houses, but they need work still, and I can use that money to cover those that work. And also because I didn't make a lot of money, I could use it to pay part of the mortgage. So that was crazy. But the bank saw that I had that money, and they basically said, we're not gonna let you finance 100%. You have to put down 20%. And so I did. I still had money left, so I still could do a lot of the fixes that allowed me to be more comfortable. But that literally saved me, because when things started to look up and I was making a little more money and things were better, I was able to in 13 move out of that second house, rented. It was in living condition, and it was nice to be a rental. And then I came back to my original house and was able to convince the bank to allow me to do a modification. So that's how I saved the house. And then in 2022, so 2 years ago, a builder came and said, do you want to sell this house in this expensive area? We'll give you $1.28 million for it. It took me a while to be like, what? I mean, I knew things had increased in price, but I didn't know they had increased almost 3.5 times what I had bought it for. It took me a couple days, but I said, yes, of course, I want to sell that house. But I didn't know what I was, again, I keep saying I didn't know what I was doing. So I started looking at, like, what do you do to avoid taxes? Because I just knew that the minute I was going to sell this house and I was going to profit $800,000, that I was going to pay a bunch of taxes and run into bigger pockets. And that's where I found Dion. And just to make it quick, the sale didn't work out because it was a 6-month contract. And while I did that was like it started in February and I was to close in July 2022. The economy changed, as we all know. And about beginning of June, the builder came and said they couldn't buy the house. And I decided, okay, fine. They wanted to like say extend the contract and just kind of keep me there, and said that they would pay lower amounts, which I was okay, because I still couldn't believe I was gonna sell it for as much as I was going to. But I just didn't want to sit there another 6 months and turn out that I couldn't. I mean, they still didn't want to buy it, so took it out of the contract, broke the contract. They forfeited the earnest money, and my agent, who I had found once I was under contract, said, I'm taking 50% of your earnest money. And I think that day, it was a Tuesday, and I had found Dion, and he was talking about how there was a meetup in Tacoma, and I was like, I'm going. I got in my car because it's about 2 hours drive, and at that time on a Tuesday, and his live had started at 4, and the meetup is at 6. So I started driving, got there, and I think that was the best thing that has happened, because he's been such a wealth of knowledge. Unfortunately, I couldn't save the earnest money. I had pretty good money from it because they only took 50% of it, but I just felt robbed. But the other thing I had been doing in that time is I refinanced my house, my little piggy bank. I refinanced it, and I had pulled all the equity I could, because what I was hoping before I was, versed on all of that, is that I could grab the money, pay the mortgage that I had on the house that I was selling, and basically buy 2 properties cash and do a 1031 exchange. So Dean said, no, do, leverage, still put it down, pretty good down payment, but don't just put all the money into 2 properties. Try and put it into 3 or 4 properties if you can. So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a good idea. But since the sale didn't go through, I had the money from the refinance, and I didn't want to just sit on that for who knows how long before I found something. So I bought my first duplex in August 2022, and it's been wonderful. I just can't believe it. I am self-managing. I did the binder strategy on my first duplex on one of the tenants, because one of the units was vacant, and I rented that one myself. And I mean, I had found renters before, obviously not very good, but but they were okay. They always paid. I didn't, they didn't just not pay rent and live there for free. They always paid, but they had a bunch of roommates, and they deteriorated the house a lot because I didn't know what I was doing. But anyway, now I do, and I found the tenant on the vacant unit in 2022. He's been wonderful. They take good care of the property inside and out. They made the garden really pretty, and when it comes to the team, I got lucky with that as well. I'm very lucky. When I bought the first duplex, there were actually 2 duplexes available, and I thought I was able to buy both of them. I negotiated, they wanted $520 for each of them, and I negotiated them down to $450 so I could get both of them. So they gave me a $70,000 discount so I could buy both duplexes. But my bank said, you cannot afford. You cannot afford both, because one of them had renters that were paying really low. And so the bank said, nope, and you're going to have to pick this one instead of the other one, which again, back to, I'm very lucky. That was the best decision. And the person that bought the duplex that I didn't, across from mine, is a contractor. And so that first year, he remodeled his unit. And once he was done, I was like, oh, I like what you did here. Can you do this in mine as well? And so he, in his free time, he's done some of the work that in my unit that he did in his. I didn't do, he really went all the way out on his, and I didn't want to do the same. I told him, don't do that. Come to the meetups with me, because I think you need to learn that the tenants are not going to take care of the unit, and you want to make it clean, safe, and functional, I think is what Dion says, but you don't want to over improve it, because he really went all the way out, because he does his own work. And so of course it makes sense. He's not quote unquote paying for labor, and he's really good. So he doesn't think it's a big deal, but hopefully, hopefully it'll pay off for him. But he's done some of the stuff that I really needed done to maintain and make it better on my side that he already did on his. And I thought it was just, I know he can do it. I know he does well. That's good work. So he was able to do it. But then I'm also like I said, I'm from Colombia, so I speak Spanish, and I go to Home Depot and I start to to speak Spanish to everybody I see in the different aisles that where I see that something that I need. And so I pick up phone numbers, even though my husband doesn't appreciate it. But I'm picking up phone numbers at Home Depot and Lowe's left and right. And that has gone into other contexts as well. Because as I get those numbers, then I call them and I go, oh, you know, someone that does this and does that. And they give me other people's contacts. So it's been great. Back in this year, I think the people that I know about this. I did end up selling the house. Didn't sell for the 3 times more, but it did sell for more than 2 times that what I bought it. And because of interest rates being the way they are, I didn't end up buying more than leveraging too much. I'm about 60% loan. No, I think, yeah, somewhere around like 40, 45, 46% is my equity right now. I was doing the calculations and it's almost to 50% loan to value, I think is how you say it, on the 3 duplexes that I have plus my house. So I'm very excited to be here and to continue in this journey. At this point, I'm not ready to retire like I thought I was going to be when I sold a house. But if someone comes today and says, we're changing paths and your job is no longer yours, I will survive and I will thrive because I've got a skill now that I can use to continue to grow and continue to support myself. And the cash flow from the properties will allow me to at least, maintain my level of life. Plus, I'm very thrifty, so that's another. I've been doing the 5 community follow, so I live very thrifty. So that is me. Thank you for allowing me to talk for so long.
Yeah, you've done some awesome things, and I'm sure we'll get to hear more about them later, like, your 1031 into these 2 new duplexes. And I was lucky enough to be there to see them with you. And what you were talking about earlier with, your grandma renting rooms to survive. I've seen a few things lately online about the seniors these days, falling back into that pattern where they don't want to leave their homes, but they can't afford to keep them. Maybe their payments are too high and things like that. So they're taking on roommates to help them stay in their homes as well. So, speaking of renting by the room, Jared, are you there?
Yeah, Frank, I'm here. I was just talking to my son about earning money.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We don't want to interrupt you, but we're
no, it's good. I'm talking, listening to you guys, and I'm trying to teach him, right? So he's going to mow. He's been mowing the lawn for $10 a week, and he wants the Spider-Man game. He saved up $500 and bought a PlayStation, right? So this kid's serious.
Nice.
And so now he bought 1 game, and then he's got $150. Sorry if this is way off topic, but it's kind of, I think it's cool, teaching the youth to. He's my youngest. I've got 2 older daughters, and they don't want to hear it. So he's the only one that listens to me. So there you go. But he's doing pretty good, right? And he's interested in velocity banking, so I've been teaching him that too, a little bit more higher level. But anyway, so now he's going to take out the garbage because he wants to add value and get there faster because he wants to buy a Spider-Man game. Now he has $150. He could buy the Spider-Man game for $70 right now, but he wants to get to 200, so that way his bank or whatever, when he spends the 70, he's at 140 or close to 150. So anyway, he's gonna take out the garbage. Anyway, yeah. So I'm doing rent by room. Sorry, way off topic there, but anyway.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're in Oregon and you're investing in Arizona in the pad split model.
Yeah, I'm in. Geez, I can't see, man. I'm getting old, dude. Yeah, I'm in Oregon, but I invest in Arizona simply for property taxes and insurance was good there, right? Because my property taxes here in Oregon is ridiculous, and I can't invest in Oregon. So 1 month of my property taxes insurance here is what I pay for all year in Arizona. So it was a no-brainer for me. That's why I didn't do Texas or Florida, was property taxes insurance. So yeah, we've got, I think everybody was else doing their thing. I've got 3 houses now, plus the 4th one here. So we're at 25 units. So that's 8 units per house, doing the rent by room, doing fairly well. Although I posted in the chat, I got a guy that's smoking pot and I asked him to vacate, but he's leaving the window open, and my freaking power bill was $633 this month. And I called the power company today, and I was really hoping that was a mistake. So, oh well. But I was telling Chester in the side chat there, maybe not, maybe it's in the global. My other house that's close by that one is single digits. I got lucky when I bought that one because the solar on that house, I have 2 houses with solar and then one without. Of course, the one where the guy's leaving the window open is the one without, of course. And one lady that's there, she's going to move into the other house with solar because she wants it cooler. And I can afford to run it cooler there because the solar puts out 65 kilowatt hours a day. I produce more than I use. And so I've had single digit, last month was negative 34 cents for my power bill. And this month's $34 because it's been 107, 108 degrees, and I keep the house at 72. All the houses are at 72, which is not normal. Most people keep them at 78, but I'm trying to provide a really good service and keep people there and yada yada. So that extra cost to me is worth it, but not $633. So anyway, so she's gonna move, and the guy that's leaving his windows open, he's leaving. So I've asked him to leave. We'll see at the end of the month. We'll see if he actually moves out or not. But he's been a problem child since he's been there, and it is what it is. But I share the good with the bad, so that's part of the bad.
Right. What is the process with, since he's renting? Is he renting by the month or the week?
It's by the week. So I'm using Pad Split. And if you want to get into the legal part of that, he hasn't been there for 30 days yet. Once you get to the 30-day mark, then or 31 days, then you technically, if the members knew about it, they could force the issue and claim tenant rights. So now the people in Pad Split are members. And for those that don't know how that works, is if you want to get into the legal part, Pad Split sets up an entity, an LLC, and it's just like a gym membership. So it's a rent by week with a 30-day commitment. But if you rent a room through Pad Split, which I'm the host, Pad Split's the front end, essentially their LLC is renting or is leasing the facilities to my LLC. So it's a relationship there. And then on the Pad Split side of things, the members, if you're a member, then if you read the thing, it's not anywhere near a tenant thing. It's just like a gym membership. So you're paying to be a member of this LLC. That's why we have to refer to them as members. And as a member of that LLC, you have the right to utilize that property for 1 week at a time with a 30-day commitment up front. So that's how the lawyers got around that deal. But if they really wanted to force it after 31 days, they could push it and go get a lawyer and try to do that. But I don't think most people are going to pony up the cash to do it. And Pad Split's defended that every single time for the last 6 years. So they've got that's one of the reasons I want to use Pad Split up front, is to leverage their legal advice. And in Arizona, there's been 2 cases already this year. And they've only been in Arizona since January of 2023. And I started in April of 2023. I think I was the 8th one. And I know the 3rd guy, a 3rd and 7th guy there in Arizona. So I was talking to them up front before I did this, because I wanted to know what they were going through. And so none of this stuff with people smoking pot in the house, it's not a surprise to me. And it's definitely, I think, Sam, you said it earlier, where, it sucks. It's a pain in the ass, but the return on investment for me was worth it. Right. So my net cash flow in each house is it's always been above 1,200. So I hit 12 to 17, somewhere in there. So I'm about, $4,500 a month net after everything's said and done. So for me, I wanted the cash flow. So what does David Green say? The juice is worth the squeeze. So that's why I did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jared, how old are your properties in Arizona?
One of them's they're all 1970s. One's a 1980, but they're all in the 70s. But one of them's been completely gutted and renovated with double pane. The cool thing is the one with the solar on it, that's good to go. It's totally redone. I had bought it and then put a brand new AC unit on it. That was $7,000, but did it anyway. The whole house is new, double pane windows. It's awesome. It's sealed up pretty tight. The other two are single pane windows. I looked into the cost benefit analysis on that, and I didn't want to drop the money on the windows because it would take a long time to return. And so I just, make sure that the AC units are serviced and up to snuff, and go from there. The one house is a brick house, and it has solar, so that one does pretty good. So the one with the window open, that's my least sealed up house with single pane windows. I bought it because it has plenty of parking, and I got a pretty decent deal on it. I think it's worth $350 right now, and I picked it up for $395. And I threw 35 grand at it with construction and flooring. I mean, I didn't gut it, but I did a really heavy duty remodel on it. Redid the kitchen, floors, put up the walls. Cause I guess I should tell you this too. I buy 2,000 square foot houses or bigger, and then I add bedrooms to them. So they're usually 4.2s or four, in this case, 4.2.5. One's a 4.3, one's a 4.2.5, and one was a 4.2. I wanted to add a half bath or a full bath to it, but it was just too cost prohibitive, so I didn't do it. But I ended up with 8 bedrooms at each house, so I add 4 bedrooms. So that way the return on investment's a little higher as well. Because if I bought a 4.2, I wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage. I'd pay the mortgage, but I wouldn't be able to afford the utilities with the rent from those rooms. So for me, for the breakdown, the 8 bedrooms, the 4 bedrooms pays the mortgage, the 5th bedroom pays the utility, and everything else is profit. So if I have 6, 7, or 8 in those houses, all of that's profit, the way it breaks down roughly. So
Perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I was going to check in with Herman. Herman, I don't think I've seen you around yet. How are you?
Oh, hi there. Good, thanks. Yeah, it's my first time here. I just joined the school community for like a couple of weeks, or maybe just 1 week actually. So I, saw this accountability group, really interested in that, so I just joined. I have just 5 properties, and I have some of those for some time already. It was kind of like my older primary residence, and then I need a bigger house, and move on, and then start renting the first one out, and then just you know caught the bug a little bit, and bought a couple, and then discovered there's just so much work, and felt overwhelmed. But then, after some years, I discover it's actually, a very good return long term, although I would say I didn't really buy the right properties. But then I was, reviewing, all those houses, the equity of those houses, I should say, and discover, hey, I should have done it better, and focus more, and that's how I kind of picked it back up and really spend time and focus on investing, and looking at off market, got my realtor license, do all that, and yeah, want to join this group, learn more, and glad to be here.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for being here. I wonder, where do you live and where do you invest in this?
Oh, right. And I'm in Houston, Texas.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Let's see who else is here tonight.
Well, Herman, I'm in Houston, Texas too. I'm just north in Conroe area, so we should we exchange information and talk about what we're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll reach out to you, Sam. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Nice to meet you as well. Finally, some fellow Houstonians.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it's about, huh? Let's see. Hey, Robert, how are you? Are you able to chat for a second?
Yeah, I guess I can chat for a second. I was in the middle. I'm listening while doing rehab, but let's go.
Oh, what are you working on?
um, can't say this is being recorded.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us where you're at and what you invested?
Sure. So, I'm in. So I'm kind of all over southern New Hampshire at this point. The three cities I'm currently in are Nashua, Manchester, and Keene. So Nashua and Manchester are like the two quote biggest cities of New Hampshire, with whopping populations of Manchester being 120,000 and Nashua being about 90,000. So they're about 30 minutes apart from each other. Nashua is like right on the Ma- Massachusetts state line. New Hampshire is about 30 minutes north. And Keene, that's more out west. That's actually pretty. That's like the southern part of the state, but at that point you're basically touching Vermont. The only reason why I went out that far really was tenant diversification, and that's a big college rental market in the state. There's a pretty big college there, so yeah, that was to because I'm following kind of trying to follow Matt's advice of like diversifying your tenant base about how he has like college section 8 and just market tenants. Military doesn't work for me. Well, it could. If I were to go into Matt's market, he's out more on the seacoast, but man, duplexes are like $700,000 and triplexes and quads are probably like $1 million at that point in his market. So a little out of touch for me. Plus, I need to kind of be near my job now. So, but yeah, I've been in this for 5 years almost. I'm almost at the end of year 5, and as a quick joke, Zuber, Dion, and Matt are all getting sued because I thought at the end of year 5, everything the first 5 years were supposed to suck. Well, I'm like a week and a half away, and I know it's still going to suck a lot for at least the next couple of months. So, false advertising on their end. Anyways,
We're
oh
gonna have
yeah,
to.
but no, yeah,
Yeah.
it's even though yeah, I mean, over those 5 years, I've had a lot of suck. A lot of suck. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. A lot of suck. And it still sucks a lot. But yeah, if after these 3 months of like turns and rehab, we'll see where I am. I mean, numerically, in 5 years, I've just increased my monthly income with all the rent. So with rents, my mortgages, and just subtracting 15% from all my gross rents for the for capex like Dion does, I'd be in 5 years. I've just given myself a $4,300 raise. So from starting at zero. So yeah. Let's see.
And
Let's see.
I'm sorry, how many units do you have? How many doors do you
Oh,
have right
oh
now?
yeah. Oh yeah. So I have So I have 6 units right now. Yeah. All those free built. All those. So I own one building in each market, and yeah, it's
Okay.
each each is a duplex. I'm hoping at this point to buy one a year now. I basically want to be right on point with that 5% owner occ resetting every year like clockwork, so I can take full advantage of that 5% down. I'm probably going to stop this around 20 to 30 units. It's hard to say because what is I if only I could magically guess in 10 years what the price to build on 50 acres and more, let's say northwestern New Hampshire would be, what interest rates are at that time and everything else involved. And I basically mapped it out and said worst case scenarios probably 30, best case scenarios probably 20. So I don't know if I get very lucky, maybe I can wrap this up in 5 years. That'd be nice. I don't know. But 10's the limit for me. My health is very important to me. That 10 years, I'm going to be about 40 and I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I want to be in extremely good physical. I don't want to dally too long on retirement because I don't want to start saying, my body just doesn't work like it used to. It's like I'm trying to do a 2,600 mile 6-month hike here.
Well, I think your goal is attainable for sure. I think you might be pleasantly surprised in, another 5 years where you're at. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if rent increases are good, if rates drop enough where I can refi, especially my Keene place that has an 8% mortgage on it right now to like 5, who knows? We'll see.
Great. You guys were talking about Texas earlier. Is that you, Kenny, or is that Jen? I never know.
It's me. I have my phone this time.
Hi. Yeah, the guys were talking about Texas earlier, and I remembered you and Jen have some properties there too, right?
Yeah, our market is kind of Bell County, which is about an hour north of Austin. So that's where we primarily invest. We got a few single families there, got 2 quads, and then one of the single families we actually started running it as a midterm rental, and so far it's been doing pretty good.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, and you're not too far from me, huh? You're here in California, over in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area. So, Milpitas, if you know the Bay Area, but that's just next to San Jose.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I used to put in a lot of miles going back and forth through there. That's where Cynthia and I met, actually, in Milpitas. There was a company there called Linear Technology. And,
yes.
She was actually my boss when we first met, and she still is today.
I was gonna say, you made her your permanent boss now.
Yeah. So cool. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Ralph, are you there? I see looks like a cat. I don't know if you're there or not.
Zoom sucks. God damn, I'm serious. Anyways, yeah, no, I'm here.
It takes time, trust me.
No, I mean, I've done Zoom before, but it's and then I'm using a portable monitor with my phone. So if I look like this sideways, it's because I'm looking at the main monitor, which is cool because your phone like into a laptop computer. So you have to do stuff, multiple. You can multitask if you want. Kind of cool. But no, it's good to hear all the good stories. I'm nowhere near where a lot of people are. Luckily, like I said, we have one rental that was gifted to us or inherited. We're just waiting for the time we got to do the paperwork to get the equity freed up. And then hopefully, like I said, Lake Isabella, since that's the rental's at, we're familiar with that area. But again, like out of state, we just go from there.
Yeah, that's cool. So last time when we were on together, you were considering out of state markets?
Out of state, but California. But I don't know who could do California. I mean, you're gonna have to find. As you know, it's just slim pickings unless you're able to sell a finance, and even then, depending. Well, you get on rent and all that, but no, out of state would be nice. Like I said, it's just more if we feel comfortable, and then I like to hear hook up with other investors that are doing out of state, so they have the contacts that you can do they would be helpful, kind of like our boots on the ground.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like we mentioned that we followed Millennial Mike out to Gary to try one there. We and then following turnkeys, we just fell into the different markets. But I think the more people that you meet through meetings like this and other ones that are out there would definitely help. And you know, I've even had people reach out from the meetings as well that I didn't know that were in the St. Louis market also. And it's just in general, it's just a really good place to start. There's a lot of different what would you call it, like a lot of different podcasts and things out there, like Mark, you know, the financial firefighter. He's been doing a lot of really cool stuff, and a lot of great discussions on his channel about different stages of investing. They had a good one on this morning. I think Sierra's here. She was on with him. She's on with him a lot. But there's usually, you know, 3 to 5 people on his channel that go over various things. So you might want to catch some of his lives too. Most of his stuff is live.
What's the channel name? Is this Financial Firefighter?
Yeah, it's the Financial Firefighter. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look him up because I hear his name come up, that name, quite a bit.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's definitely going to be helpful. Who haven't we spoken with? Jeffrey, you're here. I think you were talking earlier. Oh,
yeah,
Hi.
I just went over to my other device.
Okay, cool. Well, can you let folks know where you're at and what you're investing in?
Sure. So as I brought up with my new friend earlier, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. We're mainly trying to accumulate more small multifamily here. We currently have a quad and a triplex, and I manage the rest of the units, about 10 more units for my family, which includes I think it's like 3 single family homes, a condo, and then a 6plex. I think that's all 10 units. So that's basically where I'm at and what I'm up to. And today has already paid great dividends, I think, because from the answers you guys gave me about the pet rent, I think that in the coming years, we're probably going to pull in a few grand extra from that new concept of actually charging both an upfront fee and monthly rent, because what a concept. So thank you guys for that. That was awesome. And yeah, that's the short version of what's going on. The way I think about the math is that every small multifamily building that I acquire, once it's stabilized and maybe somewhat optimized and seasoned, that it should throw off average of about $1,000 a month profitable income, give or take, right? Just an average. And so 10 loans, 10 30-year loans, without even needing necessarily to go commercial financing, although obviously that's a legit option, as we learned in the boot camp. We're at $10,000 a month, give or take, and somewhere between now and then I will stop working so hard. So that's the plan, and that's the math that I came up with in my head when I started thinking small multifamily seriously, and we decided to try and scale to a reasonable point.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like an awesome plan. And you bring up the boot camp, and it made me think about some of the mentorships that we've taken too, and how they've really helped us advance more quickly than we could have on our own. So obviously, you know, we're in Zuber's course and Dion's course, and we took the Lumberjacks course. We also took, I think Dennis is here. He's also taken Casey's Brick by Brick Wealth mentorship. And there was somebody a long time ago on Bigger Pockets, and her name was Ashley Hamilton. She was one of the first ones that we took to, and she's the Detroit investor, and she was doing a lot of big things, and she's kind of blown up. And we, you know, we kid about that sometimes, where when we first met Ashley and we're talking to Ashley, you know, you could get a half hour of her time for $50, and if you try to do it today, it's $650. So it's yeah, I'm glad we got in when we did. A lot of and we're also in a community called Addicted to ROI. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that, but it's was started by a woman she started investing in Washington State. And when it got too expensive there, she branched out to the Midwest also. So in her community, she has agents throughout the Midwest. They're like in Ohio, Kansas City. There are several markets, but she finds local agents that can find deals for the people in her group, and they'll bring deals, and they'll post deals weekly. But that's been a great resource for us. I'm not sure what it costs now, but when we got in, it was about $13.50 a year, and it's been well worth it. She also, like Dion and everybody else, is really giving. She has monthly lives where she can answer questions, and they also do right now they have mentorship calls to help guide you with your portfolios and just kind of figure out a plan. There's 2 or 3 of the ladies that you can get time with, and they're all very experienced, and they have annual like retreats. They have had a couple in Arizona, and it costs to go there, but everybody that's gone has said that they're very well worth it. And that kind of comes full circle, because we were talking about boots on the ground. And when we found the St. Louis agent that we like working with right now, she was one of the agents in the Addicted to ROI community, and she was also in Bigger Pockets. So before we started working with her, we realized that she was in both groups, and that really gave us a lot of confidence in her. And she is also an investor, and she has properties in St. Louis and that kind of thing. So, you know, in the Old Guy REI library, we have a video of talking about mentorships and if they're worth it or not. And I think in total, probably right now, Cynthia and I are probably in about $8,000 in mentorships. And for us, it's been money well spent. And I think, you know, all of you here are in a great group of people with their honesty, right? Zuber and Dion and Matt won't lie. You know, they give us the honest truth about everything. And sometimes I don't think I've ever been in a spot where it was hard to hear the truth, but they'll get on us, you know, like Matt gets on me because I haven't seen any of our properties in person yet. So he's like, you got to get there and see them. You got to at least make sure there's a building on the lot. But you know, we've been fortunate because rent's coming from somewhere, so there's got to be something going on there. And everybody's different.
Frank, when you come to Milwaukee, I got you. You can stay at my place, and I'll pick you up from the airport, and you can have a vehicle to drive around.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I'm looking forward to getting out there for sure. And you know, the people in this group, I mean, just like Brett said, we've had offers like that all over the country, and you guys have really become a family to us. We don't family and friends, you know, folks up in, well, you know, I took that trip up to Washington to help Dion, and that was pretty awesome. But other people up there, Michelle, Esther, who's not here tonight. I mean, they always just like when you're here, you got a place to stay, and I don't know, it's weird because you feel so comfortable with each other. It's like we've known you guys for a long, long time, but we haven't. We had the good fortune of meeting a lot of you in Vegas, and we're looking forward to doing that again this year. And I got a little sidetracked there, but the mentorships, I think you're in the right spot if you haven't taken any of the courses. And like Dion always says, all the stuff in his course he's done videos on, so you can actually learn it for free, right? Just go back in time and watch his videos, and you can learn just about everything that's in his course. The one really positive thing about the courses and why we've taken them is the boot camps. The boot camps, having one-on-one time with these guys. Right now Dion's course is on Tuesdays. We get together after his Tuesday live, and he has his course, and then we went through the Lumberjacks course, and the boot camp was invaluable in the Lumberjacks course. He brought in his attorneys, property managers, agents. He's sharing everything that he's gone through with, what was the last one, Mikey, lead and asbestos and all these things, all these challenges that he's come across recently. He talks about evictions and going to court and all those things. I feel like an infomercial for these guys, but it's really, really, really worth the money if you ever think about doing something like that.
Yeah, if you guys check out my little video testimonial for Lumberjacks Boot Camp, one of the things that I mentioned in there is that, because I counted it up, because I was during those 12 different meetings, I was constantly chomping at the bit to try to shoot my questions at him and grill him on every little thing, because he eats that for breakfast. Like, he loves to geek out on every detail of what you do tactically to manage for ROI. And I counted it up at the end, and I was like, I've asked and gotten answers to over 100 questions over a 12-week period. So that was pretty cool. I'm sure it was probably somewhat annoying at some points, but yeah, I definitely got my money's worth. That was a super smart investment, and I am crazy cheap when it comes to those kind of investments, because I'm in this kind of self-help and info marketing industry, so I'm used to getting it for, in the back door and not having to pay much for it. So, but it was 10x the value over time, I think.
Yeah, and I think with that being said, the boot camps went on for at least 3 hours a boot camp. So, that's 36. I think, Mikey, you guys said the last one was 5 hours or something. I mean, yeah. And to Matt's credit, he did a couple when he was like sicker than a dog. He had pink eye or something. He was wearing sunglasses, but he wouldn't let down his group, and that just speaks to his character. So that's been awesome. We have a couple of other folks. Lars, I think Lars was in the boot camps as well, right, Lars?
Yeah.
The Lumberjack.
Yes. I'm in Lumberjacks boot camp as well. I'm joining you guys from Waikiki.
Oh, nice. Oh, I forgot you're over there for work, right?
Yeah. The military's dumb enough to send me here for 2 weeks for I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't care. I'm here in Waikiki.
Yeah, that's cool. So since we're on the school platform nowadays, there's a few newer people with us, and we were just going around talking about where we live and where we invest, what kind of investing we're doing. If you have a second.
Yeah, of course. So I live in Oregon, and I have 2 houses in Delaware, and I'm looking I got to make some decisions here, but I'm actually going to fly out west, out east, and we're gonna go take a look in Ohio, central Ohio, and see if we're gonna buy places there or stay in the Delaware market, because I believe in the growth of central Ohio for the next 10, 15 years. And I work in banking. I just see a lot of economic reports, and it does, commercial real estate on the industrial side. So I know there's a lot of companies going there. But I'm also going to probably look at Pittsburgh because there's a soft spot in my heart for Pittsburgh. I played hockey there a long time ago, and I kind of love the city. So anyways, but yeah, we're going to stay in Delaware. I don't know, but anyways, yeah, I invest in Delaware, and I'll probably always invest in Delaware in that I don't ever plan on selling my two houses. I just don't know if I'm going to buy more there or buy more, buy more in a different state that's relatively close.
Great, great. Glad you could join us tonight. And Jack, you're in Pittsburgh. Are you there?
Hey, yes, sorry, I was just listening but I was in a loud environment. I had to step outside.
Oh. Yeah, so we've just been sharing where we're at and what kind of investing we're doing since we're on a new platform tonight. And you're in Pittsburgh, and you're working on a couple of duplexes, right?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, they're a little bit north. They're in Butler, but the one I'm finishing up tomorrow, and I have a tenant that's going to sign on the 5th. And the other one, my goal was September. But I was listening to a book recently. I was talking about the stress factors in your life and stuff. So if I don't reach the goal, I'm not really that worried about it. If it takes me till December and I have to sit on it for a couple more months, I'm fine with that, because running out the one that I'm getting signed on the 5th, I'm already at my break-even point, so it's not really too big of a deal.
And are you house hacking the other one?
Yeah, the third one, or the one in the middle, I'm gonna live in. It's a much smaller one, and the one all the way to the left, that one already had tenants in it, which, maybe this group could help me out with this. So the tenants in there are like, I don't know, like $700 under market value. They're on a fixed income, and I've kind of got the binder strategy pre-going a little bit, but I know that it's going to be kind of like between a rock and a hard place on how much I can really push for. I'm not saying I want the full 700, but what do you guys think? I was actually thinking about maybe calling Section 8 or like the Housing Authority or something to see what our options are, trying to help them out a little bit.
Yeah, that's tough. We have fixed income tenants, and they are approximately $200 to $400 a month below market currently.
Yeah.
And so they're paying like $1,000 when the market is more like 1,500. So they probably could pay more, but I'm not the owner. I'm just managing it. So the owner has a soft spot, and so there you go. Yeah. So I don't think HUD. I don't think the Housing Authority is going to help them at all, because I just don't think they will, because they're going to have to stand in line for a voucher like everybody else. There's probably people that are way, way worse off, because these guys have a fixed income is still an income. So you could try it, but I think it's a time waster. And charities don't help these guys either, because the worst, I don't know, this is all opinion at this point, but I think that the worst life you can live is when you're on a low income but you have an income. It's much better to be completely destitute and derelict and insolvent, or rich as hell. But if you're in the middle, those people, they get nothing from the government programs, or very little, except for healthcare nowadays. and they of course don't have the money to have a decent lifestyle because they're getting priced out through all this inflation, you know. So it's
Yeah,
very bad for them, and if you if you make it your mission to help them, it's bad for you as well.
yeah, because like I priced the building out when I bought it for a lower income. And I'm not even saying I want to try and get up to 700, but I'd like to try and get up 300 or so.
Yeah, I mean,
I just feel like it's going to be a losing battle.
The real question is, can they afford any increase at all?
I would, if I had to guess, I'd say probably not. If they can, it'd be less than $100.
Okay, and they're not in a position to increase their income. That is out of the question.
No, because the mother, she, I don't know, mid 80s or so, and her son has something slightly wrong with him. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything like that. It's just he's slightly mentally off, and he's on disability for his life.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I decide to help them out, it's literally I'm going to be stuck with this probably for like the next 30 years.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Jack, have you?
You know what? So I'll just complete my thought really quick. I was just going to say that when I know that there's likely to be income limitations, my practice is I just incrementally increase it and let them decide whether or not they are going to stay or not, because it's really more their business. But that's just a very different attitude than what it sounds like you have. So more power to you if you want to take care of them.
I mean, I might do something like that along with, I mean, I don't know how long the mother's going to be around also, because she's way up there in age and stuff. But at that point, my single bedroom and stuff, maybe what he could live with, then I can kind of keep the rents the same, move him over, and then he'd be almost at market rent at that point.
I think the lumberjack had gone through a similar situation with some folks that he bought the unit from them because they didn't have anywhere else to go, and now they haven't been able to keep up with the payments, and he was trying to find some agencies that could help. He's in that same spot like you're talking about, where he doesn't want to kick them out on the street, but they can't stay there because they can't meet the rent requirements.
Yeah.
So you may want to check in with him on that one and see what he ended up doing, if he found a solution, because that's a tough spot. We've talked about that too. And, I mean, if you've got hundreds of units and you can afford to let someone stay in one that's, below market, then that's different. But when you're just starting out, it seems like you can't really do that, or it's going to hinder your progress as well. But yeah, I would.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say I would lean on him, shoot him an email or something, and if he's found a solution, I'm sure he would be happy to share that.
Yeah, that might be my next step. I can do that tomorrow even.
Yeah, great. Who haven't we bugged yet? Dennis, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Hey, I can't get.
I was gonna fly under the radar.
No, not a chance.
Yeah, I'm just talking is I don't feel like talking is my strong suit. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I'll probably post my introduction video as well in the chat. See if I can find it real quick, so I don't forget anything. Or if I do forget something, you can all watch it. But I'm in the Charleston area, Charleston, South Carolina, and just moved here just a little bit over a year ago. So left my awesome 2.25% interest rate in North Carolina and now have a 5.75, which isn't too bad, but it was really tough leaving a huge backyard and a nice pool and a 2.25 interest rate. But so I'm pretty familiar with the coast of North Carolina, Wilmington and up, and Charleston. I'm getting pretty familiar with this area, so this is called the Low Country, or you could call it the Tri-City area. So I'm actually in Somerville, but that's part of it. There's Charleston, North Charleston, and Somerville, and then there's a bunch of other little cities. But this is Charleston's the biggest city in South Carolina, and North Charleston, which is right above it, is the third biggest, I think. So there's a lot of population around here. It's a pretty good area for growth and things of that nature. But my buy box is actually in Memphis, so I'm focusing on a certain area in Memphis, but I do kind of cheat a little bit. I'm not die hard like Michael Zuber tells us to be on my buy box. I still kind of look a little bit in my local area, because if I could find something in my local area, I feel like that would be better. But or in like North Carolina, where I just moved from, because I retired from the Marine Corps in 2019, so I spent a lot of time in North Carolina, close to, oh boy, maybe 13 years, 9 years this past time, and then 4 years prior to that. So yeah, Memphis is my buy box. Don't have any properties yet. I'm getting close. I would be very interested in talking the property. We talked in the beginning about property managers, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I have some good agents on the ground there, but property managers, I've talked with a couple, but I don't know everything to look for when it comes to a property manager. I know some things, but I'm looking kind of for those like golden nuggets of wisdom on what to ask, what to look for with them when it comes to like fees and things like that. And what else? What am I missing? What else am I missing? I mean, I grew up in upstate New York, central New York. It's Utica is the name of the city, and I've been stationed many places. So those are all places I've actually looked, and I'm still getting, I'm feeling like Memphis is where I'm gonna probably stay for my buy box. I have a cousin that lives there. She's lived there, many years, and it's just a place that I've become pretty familiar with over the last month or so. Yeah, I guess I'll end it there. I'll let you watch my video if I missed anything.
Cool. Yeah, you brought up you made me think about accountability, and a couple of people had questions about that, and I think we can certainly help with accountability. When Zuber, when I was first learning Zoom, the name that got thrown in there was Frank's accountability meeting. So I think sometimes that I like to call it gentle accountability. I think it's tough enough if you tell if you tell us in this group that you want to meet a certain goal next week or next month. That's enough pressure, because you've already told all these people and they're expecting you to move on it. But we met some people, Mikey, and we met some people in Vegas that had some serious accountability, and that's too much stress for me. But if you guys have goals and need suggestions, like Chester was one of the first ones to mention, what was it, lenders, Chester? I think you, at the time, you were asking for help on how to find a good lender. So folks in the group gave him some suggestions, and he came back the next week and let us know what he had found. And so that kind of stuff, I'm happy to help with. I don't want, let's see, I should say I want everybody in the group to be able to keep moving forward. And if you need that, we can we can certainly help there too. Um,
Hi, Dennis. I think you mentioned that you need help with how to ask, what to ask property management. And when I started, I wrote down after some research all the questions that I needed from property management, and I ended up not using them. So because I felt like I can manage the properties myself. So, but I will. I think I follow you. You follow me, and so I can send you that list of questions and that I spent some good time on just kind of putting them together. And if that, I hope that would help.
Yeah, I'm sure that would help. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And also, Dennis, you're in Casey's course. She has a list, right? She has a list of questions for PMs, and then the Addicted to ROI group that I mentioned earlier, they also have a list. I'll try to find that and shoot that to you. And of course, the list is probably like 60 questions or something, and they always tell you, you're not going to ask a property manager all those questions because you'll lose them right off the bat.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, and I do have Casey's as well. The only reason I was asking maybe for a little bit more is because, not that she doesn't know what she's doing and what she's talking about, but she, they self-manage everything. I think they might actually have one property manager because there's a really good Hispanic community that she is investing in, and like that person, speaks Spanish. So they were like, yeah, we're probably going to go with property manager for this one. So because the property manager speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so she does all self-managing for the most part, except maybe that one unit. And that's why I was kind of looking for a little bit more, just, you get a whole bunch of knowledge in, and some of it sticks, right? So if you just keep on kind of pulling more knowledge in, more of it's going to stick. And that's sort of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thought I have about PMs is just like getting your first rental, you're going to learn the most when you do hire a property manager, and then you're going to know what things you don't like about the situation. And hopefully you'll have a couple in your market that you can fall back on if you don't like the first one that you pick. I know Cody's not here tonight, but he had some issues, and his challenge was that there were only a couple of little things he didn't like about the existing property manager, and he didn't know if it would be worse by switching to another company, and he was actually considering taking on property management back himself because he had done it originally. But that's the kind of thing, like I mentioned, that we were in before. You don't know. It's just like anything else. You don't know what you don't know. And there are general questions you can ask. I think, like I mentioned on the one that their fees were just really, really high for, what they did. They were, even though they had in-house maintenance, they were still tacking on a percentage, like as if they were using outside vendors. And I could kind of see, for example, our property manager in Milwaukee went, we had tubs refinished, but the property manager had to go let them in. So the property manager charged like $100 to go there and let them in because they had to do it twice because of that process taking a couple of days. So little things like that will sneak up on you, and I can understand why, because it's time for their people too, and they have to pay their employees as well. But yeah, those are things that we don't always think about in the beginning.
What is a way that, just one thing that I was thinking about with property managers, what is one way that some of you who use property managers have found out, I guess, how they treat the tenants? Because I'm curious on how that works out. Do you fake a call, or do you ask the tenants? I feel like there needs to be some sort of a separation, right, between you and the tenant once you have a property manager, but kind of curious on that.
This is Lars. This is my opinion. you really don't know until you have one. And I don't know how my property manager treats my tenants, but I know I've had the same tenants for the last 5 years or 6 years, something along those lines. So it can't be bad if they've been in my rental 5 years. And then my other one I bought with them. They just went in there, and we bought it last year. I put them on a short-term lease. It's kind of one of those like, hey, you show that you can pay it up, that you're good and everything. Then I'll give you a 1-year lease, and we gave them a 1-year lease and that. So I think, I don't know, maybe somebody else has a better idea, but to me, it's this amount of time that tenants stay in the unit, right? That kind of proves it or not. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has something better, but that's all I have.
I think it was in Mike Butler's book. I was reading. I never had a property manager, but what he said he does is right around the holidays, like maybe about the month before, so like early November, he'll send everyone out a card without the property manager knowing, with a evaluation sheet on how he feels the property management company, how do you feel about the landlord. He makes it anonymous, like it's like a third party more or less, with a $25 gift card for taking the survey. But they only get it after they complete the survey, and he gets it back through his PO box. But I was kind of thinking that as you were talking, that way you can get a feel about how the tenants feel about the property management company.
Yeah, and that too would come over with time, right? You made me think. I meant to reach out to my PM in Milwaukee today, but there was she had an issue with the screen door, and whoever came to look at the door took the screen door off and put it behind the unit. And no, this was before we switched PMs. And
that's one way to fix it.
Yeah, it doesn't squeak anymore. So I need to follow up, because we did have a conversation, the PM and I, because I wanted to see if they could find on our duplex, the two front doors are side by side. And I wanted to see if they could get a matching door, right? Instead of having two different kinds of doors. So the last time I talked to him, he was supposed to try to find a matching style door, but that's already been a couple of weeks and I haven't heard back. So you guys just reminded me of that. But that's the kind of thing. So I did see, somehow I saw, maybe it was the work request that the tenant had sent in, and just the way she was talking, there was some frustration there from her, because with it being summer and no screen door and things like that. So and I always try to make sure that the tenants are getting the things that, I mean, within reason, right? On our other unit, one of the AC units broke, and I know it's going to cost us a few bucks to get a new one in there, but I'd rather get a new one in there than lose the tenant for sure. If it's $300 or $400 for a window unit or something like that. But again, I think it just takes a little bit of time, and I love that idea of sending out the survey. I think I'm going to try that this year for sure. And I wonder if you can do that anonymously, because if you send one, it's going to have your return address on it or something.
Well, you could probably do like an online one, I imagine, but I'm trying to think how, like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of using QR codes, but maybe you could do something like that, or some sort of like, they have like Survey Monkey out there. It'll just be some link you can go to.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Or PO box.
Oh,
Yeah,
PO
I
box,
guess you could
yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Or I could send it from Brett's address, and then he could just let me know what they say. I think let's see who else is here.
We have a PO box, so you can definitely use our PO box. That's
Oh,
not a
awesome.
problem.
Awesome. Thank you. I was going to say earlier, you said you're at
Hey,
go ahead.
I don't know how big of an air conditioner you need. We're getting one put in. It's a 1.5 ton, so it's a small one, and it's gonna be like 38 to 4,000. So I don't know what kind of prices you're getting back, if that's your Milwaukee property or not.
Oh no, this is the one in our triplex in St. Joseph, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have mini splits installed in the upper 2 units, and those were between 6 and 7,000 for those two each. But this one, I think this one is just one of the regular ones you set in any bedroom window. It's not like a really big one. And I think they have a couple. One of the issues on the other AC unit in the same unit was that it was getting like mildew. And so they went out, they were able to clean that one, but the other one was broken. So just stuff that comes up. Chester, I don't think we've heard from you this evening. Are you all done with dinner?
So I'm done with dinner, but I'm not done with all the coughing. So
okay.
I may just give a very, very brief version of it because my voice is starting to go. Hold on for 1 second.
Sorry, I forgot.
All right, so I'm gonna try to, yeah, I'm gonna try to do this as fast as possible. So, Chester, in the Washington D.C. area, specifically the Maryland suburbs. I don't think I heard anybody is anywhere near me. Few people on the East Coast, but I had started by looking in my market here first. 2020, 21 time frame, and then prices just kept kind of just going out of control. And, now hindsight, 4 years later, we're finding out that properties have essentially shot up by about 40%. So that basically turned all of the properties that could cash flow into alligators. So that led me on the journey to start looking out of area. And so I started doing a little bit of due diligence on markets in Ohio, in Michigan, in Indiana, and then as well St. Louis specifically, but like I guess you could call the St. Louis Metro. So those I came upon from talking with Allie Boone, and she's the turnkey promoter that Frank was mentioning a little while earlier. So where I ultimately ended up getting under contract with the property that's up in Detroit is I actually flew up to Detroit. She was offering an investors tour at the end of June, or excuse me, at the end of May. And so when I went up there, just went to check everything out, I was quite honestly blown away. Like the level of investment that's going on up there, like it would be, if you can get an opportunity to go up there and check it out yourself, it's literally like night and day compared to the days when they were, making national headlines going through bankruptcy and whatnot. But it is like the opposite of a doom loop. Like it is growing and flourishing and investing, or growing and flourishing because there are so many people that are investing there. And so ultimately, that's what convinced me to quote unquote pull the trigger. So I'm working with a uh, turnkey property company that Allie recommended herself. And they were the ones who showed us around Detroit and showed us like, hey, here's like the various areas. In all of the areas, the properties that they're looking at or targeting are ones that are essentially like Class B or Class B adjacent to Class A properties. So the play, if you will, is their goal is get a property that is cash flowing, but can also appreciate. So again, of course, I'm not going to be concerned about the appreciation portion. The other big benefit is the turnkey company already works hand in hand with a property management company, and both of the turnkey and the property management company, Allie has worked with them for years and says everybody who the investors that they've worked with, they all highly recommend them. So like I said, so this should be my first property, especially way out of area. It's about a 2-hour flight to get there, but I was definitely pleased with everything that I saw. And even after all expenses, it's roughly a 9% cash on cash return. So that's what ultimately convinced me to say, hey, you know what? If we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger, it might as well be on this because, again, it's going to be a learning experience. So. All right, so got through all of that with only a minimal amount of coughing. So
yeah, thank you. Hope you feel better soon.
I appreciate it. But yeah, definitely. If anybody wants to kind of discuss, or because I know we had Allie on, maybe it was about a month and a half ago. Frank, I don't know if you're planning on having any additional for lack of a better phrase, guests, speakers to kind of come in, similar to how, Ali and Ariel had come through a while back.
Yeah, actually, I got interviewed by Brian about a week ago, the lender from Neighborhood Loans, and he agreed to come on with me. So we should be seeing him hopefully in the near future. And I'm chasing after one of my property managers to see if they would come on too. So hopefully we can get some questions answered with those people. Yeah, I think it would be pretty educational.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're dwindling down to the I guess the REI addicts. Do any of you guys have any other questions? Anything else we could chat about?
Just
Hey, Frank,
quickly,
I had
Frank,
a
about
thought.
the. Oh, go ahead.
Jack, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I was going to say, you're talking before, Frank, about topics and stuff. Maybe for weeks where you don't have a host, you could separate it between like the regulars, like 20 minutes about a topic that, whoever it is, roll the dice or whatever, however you decide to do it, that they can talk about 20 minutes about a topic that they just feel like they knock it out of the park on.
Okay. Yeah, I know Jared has done that for us a few weeks ago. And that was a lot of great information. I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate the suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sam, were you going to say something?
Frank, I was going to ask, last week we talked about cash value versus full replacement cost for the insurance. So I got with my agent, and yeah, it seems like you said, the cost will be different, and it's probably the premium will be probably half or close to that for the property. Now, let's say you have $100,000 that you want to insure. So what would be the I want to see, because I probably didn't catch it last week, but what would be the reason you would choose the cash value versus full replacement? I know it's the premium, but then if that's the case, what if something happens to the building or to the house or property? Would that cash value, whether it's half or three quarters, be satisfactory?
So the way it's been being explained to me, and it came up because we were running numbers on properties and stuff, and all the pro formas we were seeing had a very low insurance cost. It was like half of everything I was ever putting in, and we've always done full replacement coverage. But then Alicia, the agent that we work with in St. Louis, said, I asked her, how are you getting these numbers? And she explained that a lot of investors in the market that she's in, they invest for cash value. For example, if you buy something for 100,000, they insure it for like 20% more. So it'd be 120,000. And if something happens to the house and it needs to be like totally rebuilt, they'll just remove the house from the lot and sell the lot. Right? Because they wouldn't have enough money to rebuild the home. If you're going to insure it for full replacement coverage, the full replacement value is going to be whatever, 300,000, 400,000, and that's what you're paying your premium on, right? So somebody might feel lucky if they're paying that higher premium, something happens to the house, they don't have to rebuild. They could take their 400,000, scrape the lot and sell it, and take their money and go invest somewhere else or do whatever they want with that 400,000. So it's almost like you're betting. If you're doing full replacement, you're betting that something's going to happen to the house. And we switched. I just got new policies for our smaller homes. The one in St. Louis that we bought for cash at 70, and we insured it for 85. And the price was, I have it right here somewhere, but the price was about yeah, I have it right here. So on the property we paid cash for it. We paid 70,000, and the insurance, sorry, well, I have this other example right here. So we have a $70,000 property and we have a $60,000 property. The one in Illinois is 60,000, and the insurance we were paying was $1,000 a year. And when I went to cash value, it's $395. Right? So we bought it for 60, and we insured it for, I believe we insured it for 72,000. So with that being said, the 20% extra that we're covering it for is going to pay to get the house demolished and get the lot cleared, and then it would be ready to sell. We still have.
And you got your.
What's that?
And you still got the money back for the you paid. Yeah.
Right. And the other thought with that, and it would be like every year you're going to want to reevaluate your property value, because next year, so we bought it for 60,000 last year. Next year, if it's, I don't know, worth 65, then you're going to take your 65 and add the 20% to that, and you're going to increase your insurance a little bit. Right. But like they were saying on our St. Louis house, to rebuild it would be about 275,000. We bought it for 70, and our insurance was 1,100 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, does Hipster Investments on their estimates on the website, is that cash value insurance?
I know the ones in the St. Louis market are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess it seems that most of these turnkey companies, they'll estimate not replacement value. They'll do just the cash value.
Right. And if you talk to, so John, I don't know if you've gotten that far yet and talk to John Sinsel. He's the St. Louis turnkey provider, but most of his properties right now are on the Illinois side. And that's what he's been doing. And then what I've heard in the past also is that these turnkey providers have so many properties and clients that they're getting better rates for that as well. You know, for referrals.
They're getting they're having lenders, buy down the points or all kinds of different stuff. So it's one good thing. I mean, we talked where did we talk about this? Was it on School maybe? Like through chat and things. There's going to be a premium price with these turnkey properties, but you know, they kind of have, I don't know, it just depends. You know, some of it's good, some of it's bad, but they have that infrastructure there where they're able to get, you know, some good deals sometimes with the lenders and things like that. And property managers, maybe like you got a free year of property management or
Yeah.
only 8%, and you're getting like, you know, just as good of, you know, a property manager that might be doing 10%.
Yeah, and sometimes you'd be surprised. Today I was talking to our lender, Brian, about the property we're under contract for, and he did the research and came and told me what our taxes would actually be on the property, and it was only like $47 a month. And then that's lower than I've ever seen, but that's the actual number on what we would you know, what we would be paying. And Brian had an insurance number of $125 a month, but in reality, you know, I forget what, it was like $500 for that property. You know, that's 40 or 50 bucks a month. So that $75 difference makes a big difference for your cash flow. So being able to find out those actual numbers will help you in your analyzation as well.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify? Are you saying that you reduced your insurance premium via just reducing what the award would be to you in the event that there's a catastrophic loss of the building?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think the key point is you can either insure for an amount to protect your equity, or you can insure to replace the building, which could be more. So if it's like
Right.
your primary house, you want your house replaced.
You
But
want
if you're
replacement value.
right, but if you're investing in a neighborhood where every house is $70,000 and it costs $275 to rebuild your house, then you'll never get your money out of it when you go to sell it because of the neighborhood. So why pay that hit every month on your cash flow to pay for something you'd never be able to get your money out of? Now you'd probably be able to get the best rent in the neighborhood, but once they rebuilt it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
there's a
and
limit.
the reason why that's such a big deal, that I'm kind of, that is really blowing my mind, is because my quad, we purchased it for under 400, but the replacement value is $1 million, because it's like a, you know, it's a 100-year-old property. It's a historic thing. So to rebuild the historic value would probably cost $1 million. And so, yeah, I think with that strategy that you're talking about, and also possibly raising the deductible, I bet I could get my insurance premiums down quite a bit.
Yeah, I was using obiinsurance.com, and I did a review on that website as well, and I just love the way that, so you could put the property in, you put a few details in, not a lot. It takes maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes or less to get a quote, but they'll give you the estimate for replacement. They're like, hey, this is what it's gonna be for replacement, but then you can just kind of scroll up or down whatever you want. So like Frank said, you know, you can bring it down to 400,000 and then add 20% or whatever, and then hit submit, and they'll give you the options. You know, they'll give you options on like, you know, if you want to spend 10,000 on a deductible, or 5,000 or 2,500. But
and
it's
that
a great
site
tool.
will give you estimates nationally.
Yes.
Oh, that
And
sounds like a great resource. Can you pop it in the chat? Or
yeah, I will.
I'd love to go there.
Yeah, and I was, you know, because when we hear stuff like this and we're not sure if it's true, I'm glad we have we can bring it up in groups like this. And one thing that validated this for me the other day was Zuber actually did this. He said he had 3 properties, and he does full replacement value. So he has had 3 fires, and he rebuilt 2 of the homes, and the third one he scraped the lot and sold the lot. So for me, that was validation, I guess, on the concept. And I was happy to hear that.
I mean, a lot of times in these appreciating neighborhoods, selling the lot, like that's a lot of money. Like you're probably gonna make money on the entire deal, considering that you're getting, like you said, cash value gets your money out of the property, and then selling the lot actually gives you that. It's gonna be some kind of ROI just on that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, obviously Cynthia and I are investing for cash flow. There's not going to be a whole lot of appreciation. And even with that being said, if we got our initial investment back, I would be happy with that, because we would have had all these years of cash flow, right? A little bit better cash flow. If it's a difference of $50 a month for cash value versus full replacement in our markets, that increases our cash on cash return by quite a bit.
Yeah, and you've suffered a catastrophe, so I mean, to have any kind of return as a result of a catastrophe is kind of it's like it's hard to complain.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And that is very interesting, because I thought when I usually when I look at the insurance and what the value they put on there on my properties, and I'm thinking this is, the way I think about it is like, well, what's the market value for the property? But and maybe it's the replacement cost, but it also is like the insurance looking at, well, how much is this house gonna be worth? But now that you talked about it, it maybe just like they look at it from the perspective of like, how much is this property going to cost to build? Is that's probably what we're talking about. So they don't care maybe about the market value or how much. So that's probably on us to determine, well, is this replacement cost worth it or not? Like you said, it maybe cost 200,000 to replace, while it's only worth 70 in some markets. Like, so that's kind of cool to know. And now I'm gonna try to look at that and try to determine the value myself versus their replacement cost.
Yeah, and I've had good luck because the insurance agent that I just mentioned that we did these 2 new policies with, he's right there in that market, and was very knowledgeable about working with investors, and he verified all these thoughts I had, questions I had. And I think if you guys are considering one versus the other, definitely, bounce it off whatever agent you're working with, and make sure that it's good for you. I don't want to be spreading information that, and then you guys jump in and it didn't work. But that's what I learned, and that's what I did, and it really saved us quite a bit of money that way. I don't know that right now. I'm not going to switch over our larger properties. The duplex and triplex are still going to stay full replacement, but all of the singles are going to go that way.
Yeah, the insurance agent told me that usually the cost is just for the building. So you want to look at the property you have and determine the value of the land, and then minus so because they will only replace the building. Now, is that building, like you said, maybe it's not worth that much, so you're paying extra, and maybe it's not worth the money, and maybe the lot is worth some money. So
yeah, and I think I was lucky too, because this agent also let me take the deductible up to 5,000. He was pushing 2,500. And he was saying that, but the difference between a $2,500 deductible and a $5,000 deductible was about $40 at my price range. So, you know, he would do whatever I asked him to. So we went with the 5,000. And like Matt and everybody says, you know, you're not going to use that insurance unless something catastrophic happens, right? Because
exactly,
they're going to bump it up no matter what.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All my insurance are high deductible. So, yep, agreed.
And I'm sure some people have really scored, right? That like we just heard, you know, you're insuring it and the rebuild cost is $1 million after you paid $4 million, but you're not going to be able to sell the house for $1 million in that same neighborhood. The prices aren't going to, you know, they will not have jumped that much. Like Sean was saying.
Right. Totally.
So I'm gonna offer. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, unless there's some kind of tax consequence, I don't see how replacement value makes a ton of sense. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, for me, at least where I'm investing and what I'm investing in my strategy, it makes more sense for replacement value for me. That's because the whole reason why I'm investing is because I'm trying to make sure that my kids with special needs always have a roof over their head or passive income.
Yeah,
for the rest
totally
of their
makes
life.
sense for that.
You know, so for me, at least with the, you know, for me, it makes sense to have replacement costs. Because I'm not saying my kids will live there, but it's an area, a country, a town, so forth that, yeah, sure, they don't know anybody there, but it's a good area to live in. They're good neighborhoods. They're good, you know, like you would want to live in those neighborhoods. If I was investing in, let's see, would be, yeah, Wilmington, inner city, Wilmington, Delaware, then cash value would make all sense in the world. But Newark, Delaware, you know, replacement costs just because of the mere strategy. You know, one would be for pure cash flow. The other one is I get cash flow, but it's more about other things than it is about maximizing the cash flow. So,
yeah,
at least for me.
Right, and two, I think at the the stage that you're in life, you know, I always talk about our age and stuff, and cash flow is the way that we're going to have a better retirement and things like that. We don't have, I guess we don't have the concerns with appreciation and things like that that maybe some newer investors can focus on earlier in their journeys.
Frank,
Yeah, I was just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just looking earlier today as I was, because I booked my trip back east today and so forth. So I was looking I was looking at one or two deals in Newark, Delaware, and I kind of realized I started, by all intents and purposes, investing about 2 years ago. Well, okay, I've had a house for 10 years, but I didn't really start looking for the second rental, so my first one on purpose, until 2 years ago. And I remember hearing all these crash bros and everything. You know, there's always a reason why real estate's going to go down, whatever. And I kind of ignored that. Maybe I paid attention to it for the first 2 or 3 months, but I kind of really ignored that. Once I kind of made up my decision, and I realized if you bought a house in Newark, Delaware over the last 2 or 3 years, unless you're doing a flip and you lost money, you're just a total idiot. Like, I mean, a blind monkey could have made $100K in 2 years in Newark, Delaware. Just a total blind monkey. It just kind of came. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for the rest, but it makes me think, like, whenever these, like, I'm just so done with these, you know, if real estate's the end of the world type of videos or whatever, that everybody comes out, you know, this one zip code in Texas or this one zip code in Florida. It's like, okay, you know, they're just trying to scare us. I don't know. It's a slight rant of mine. I apologize, but it's just like a blind monkey could have made $100K in Delaware. One thing I did notice is that the Delaware zip codes, they don't show up on Alto's research or anything like that. You just, I mean, other than the red, like it's the data on Redfin and Zillow is the exact same data everywhere else, at least for the zip codes that I invested, which I found was kind of interesting because I went looking hard for some different information, can't find it, you know. Anyways, so
This is a good place for rants, Lars. You're always good here.
I had a question on market average. You know, Zuber talks about you find your market average and you kind of
Mikey, sorry, we're out of time. We got to.
well, because yeah, I was kind of wrestling with this and and so you base it on each zip code and you would maybe try to find a rental that's being listed. Then you look at the purchase price and you try to work the math backwards from that. So how do you guys do that? Like, do you run maybe 20 different versions of that to find your average? And then if you go to a different zip code, do you have to start all over again, finding that average in a different zip code? I was just curious because when I was trying to do it for myself, it's like, you know, I'm trying to guess what traditional lending, what that rate would be at that time. And then I just try to plug in the numbers backwards, like trying to reverse it. And I'm trying to figure out how you guys do that, trying to find market average so that you can beat that market average. But what happens if your averages you're seeing are all over the place? Some I'm seeing 0%, some I'm seeing 3, 6. So just trying to figure that out.
So I got this, Mikey. I'll take this one. The first place to start is the HUD fair market rates. Start there. Go there, and now it's going to vary from different parts of the country, right? And I'm only saying this because I've been doing this exact same thing in Ohio, in parts of Delaware, in Pittsburgh, etc. Right? So I start with HUD, and then it's probably going to be anywhere. And it's a total guesstimate, but it's probably going to be anywhere from a 10. I mean, from a 15 to 30% premium on the HUD fair market rents. Right? Does that make sense? Now, some areas, the HUD fair market rents might actually be the fair market rent. But you can always start there. I think that's a good starting point because you know that with the HUD fair market rents that, you know, that's posted online, that should worst come to worst, you can get, you can get a Section 8 person in there for that rent. Let's say within a 10% mark there. So I would start there and then go up and down from there. That's what I've been doing. The only real thing I really notice is I pay attention to what comes on the market for rent. And if somebody keeps their thing on the market for rent for, if it stays on there for 30 days, I ignore that one. But the ones that come on and 15 days later are taken down, they obviously rented it out for that rent price. Right? I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they didn't lower it after it being on the market for 15 days. And they didn't just suddenly have like, oh, hey, I'm going to sell it. I mean, maybe 1 out of 100 do, but so that's something that I pay attention to, like like you do the Zillow or the Redfin, whatever, for prices. Also do it for rents. And the ones that come on and leave the market within 30 days, they rented that out for that price. And you can kind of mark that down. Okay, 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,800, and 19713. Boom. So that's how I've been doing it. If it stayed on, if it went down after like 35 days, I still might keep it. But I would say anything after 40 days, like I ignore it, right? Because obviously they didn't rent it out in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mikey, also the other good thing about our area is that Zillow tracks what goes off the market super fast. I can't see a name, so whoever was just talking was saying for our area that we invest in, and usually the Zillow, whatever they call it, the rent odometer thing, it's usually within like $100 of what the actual market value is going for.
Yeah, that's why I say, because even when I was looking at the HUD and you do it on just the market rents, it's so off because it's like the utilities thing. And then when I'm how do I try to yeah,
Mikey, was your question about the rents, or was your question about like what number you're using to evaluate if it's a good deal or not?
trying to find average. Like
Yeah, so I think the way Zuber teaches it is you do the calculation on what your yield would be, right? You calculate your cash on cash return for the properties, and you put them all in your spreadsheet and you compare the yield. So if like say the average deal, the yield was 5% in your buy box, and you found something for 6.5, 7, that would be above average, or a good. I think he says like more than 1% or 2 above average would be a good deal or a great deal.
Okay, I was doing it differently then. Yeah, because I was trying to find other investors what they
Yeah,
were
that's how he compares, different single family to multifamily is just how much cash do I have to put in, and what is the return on that cash that I invest.
Well, right, but it's the rents. But I think to Mikey's point, he's like, well, how do I know what I can rent this thing for? And that's where he's looking for the area average rents, because he's like, okay, if I buy this is my understanding, Mikey, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to buy this for 200,000. I can, how much am I going to rent this out for? And you're looking for the area average rent, knowing that if it's a 2-bed, 2-bath area average rent, what's the area average rent for that zip code, or for that property, that zip code or that area of town, whatever, for that 2-bed, 2-bath before you buy it, so you can get your return. Because he's looking at the return too, is my understanding, right, Mikey? You're just trying to figure out what's the average rent that you can get for it.
Oh, sorry, Lars. It's more like how Dion talking about where in his market he was looking at 8% as average. So then to beat that, he would go for 10% cash on cash. And I was trying to think how do you find that and what the average investor is getting, and how, because like Zuber says to beat that. So that's what I was trying to figure out.
Oh, okay, I thought you were trying to figure out what your return is based on area average rents of a unit. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So that goes back to the yield that was it Steven that was talking about that?
Oh, Sean.
Sean. Oh yeah, Sean. So if you get that yield, so like just for example, for my buy box, right? The yield is like, or I mean the average yield is like 2%. But there's some in that buy box that are like 12%. So I'm going to be looking at the 12, and I think Zuber even said he's not looking at anything, or he told people don't look at anything below 8. And that was recently. So I don't, but that doesn't necessarily jive with, going the 1 or 2% over that he would say before and that Dion talks about, right? So I don't know. To me, like it's like from what he said last time, the last thing that he said was look at 8% or more. I don't know if he was talking about a specific area or if he was saying no, like move on. Like if in your buy box there's not an 8%, move on.
So that would exclude everything in my market, to be honest.
Yeah, that's I know, right? That's why it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's kind of like,
I mean, so my understanding from what he says is find the area average, find the average for your area, and then you're trying to beat it. And then what is it? A good deal would be beating it by 1.5, and a great deal would be beating it by or maybe it's a good deal is beating it by 3, and a great deal is beating it by 6, something along those lines. I'd have to go back and watch the video on that.
Yeah, great was 3. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, so whatever great was, it was half of that for good. So like for example, for me, in Newark, Delaware, as of a year ago, the average return, if you bought something and held it, cash on cash or yield, whatever you want to call it, was negative 5%. That was average. Now I found a deal that cash flowed 3% and it was in the best part of town. That yielded 3% is the best part of town. I'm beating the average by 8%, but my yield is 3%. But again, it's an area that I want to that I would want I or my kids to live in long term, so therefore I bought it. If I was focusing on yield, I would say to hell with Delaware and go straight, you know, and ask people about Detroit or Indianapolis, etc. If I was going straight for yield, because there'd be you're not going to get the yield in Delaware that you're going to get in other parts of the country. You're just not. Not unless you find the dumbest
not
seller
year
of all
one,
time.
right? Not year one, but you will eventually have a great cash on cash return in Delaware in a few years, hopefully.
Well, yeah, the property I bought in 2012. Let's see, what is it? My well, I bought it with a VA loan, so that's kind of cheating. But I bought it with a VA loan and put $1,000 down, and now cash, and you know that was in 2012, and now cash flows $1,000 a month, and that's after PM fees, by the way. So you know, if I move back there, I can immediately increase my return by 20% if I just move back there and manage it myself.
Yeah, I went and just found Zuber's comment, and he says he's only looking at 8% or higher, but he was talking to somebody else. So tough to see, understand exactly what he's talking about. I agree with, you know, Dion or Chester, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 8%, but it looks like he's at a point in his life where he can make that decision. You're like, I'm only going to look at 8%, but maybe he's talking about Las Vegas. I don't know.
Well, in his videos, I remember when I first started watching Mike Zuber, he always talked about beating the average rent. So he, you know, he would even, I know there's plenty of videos of him saying, you know, your average may be 3 or maybe 5 or maybe 2, you know, or maybe negative like you know, in San Francisco, but you're trying to beat the average.
Right.
And so
that's why I thought it was weird that he said that.
Relative to the average. I think his 8% is relative to the average of the market. Just look at that.
Did you guys find that average, like because most of the houses in our markets are basically alligators, right? So most of them are going for the market price. They're going for owner occupied. So the price, let's say, if the price is high, so that's 90% of the properties in our markets are high price, right? And then in that 10%, then you're fishing, right? That's your farming area. And so so let's say we're talking about the average, right? Let's say, well, if you put the 90% of these properties in your spreadsheet, and so let's say 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, okay? And you have 90% of the properties are over, you know, they're asking too much, right? That's what we find in our markets as investors. And then so if you plug them in your spreadsheet, well, those 90% is going to determine the average, right? I mean, because that's where the majority of the properties are. So, and then now so to me, I mean, it seems like the price of the property is what determines what yield I'm going to get. So if the price is high, like I know they're over asking, they're asking for too much, then I just don't touch it. But if I know the price is lower and this property may need some work or maybe lipstick or maybe have something else, well, because 3-bedroom, 2-bath are renting almost the same. If I buy it for 300,000 or 200,000, the rent is not going to be as much as different. Well, then I'm targeting lower price. So so that's kind of my concept, at least. I mean, it kind of starts with the asking price, because if I plug all properties, well, that will determine the average, and the average is, let's say, 0. Well, any property that's lower price will yield better if the rent is about the same for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Yeah, it is true. As you're looking every day, then you'll see something pop on your screen, and it's like this adrenaline rush you get. It's kind of a weird feeling, but it's like the more and more you're looking at it every day, then something pops, and you're like, or you get that rush because you know it's like an outlier compared to everything else you're seeing.
Compared to everything you see, because all the properties are coming at a higher price. They are not just they just put them on the market. The agent advises on the price, and then it's not for us. It's not for us. They're for someone who buy it FHA or buy it for the that's their house, the house they live in.
So I got one from what it was 3 weeks ago. There was this I look at the zip codes and everything every day, and I saw this house come on, and unfortunately the listing agent made a typo, but I got so excited because what would have been the most wonderful human being of all time, in my opinion, put it on the market for $200K below what it's worth. And I look, and they actually had pictures. And I'm like, okay, that's good enough for me. And like, I was calling my agent, I was doing everything I could. I was like, I'm ready, I will empty the bank accounts right now and find the down payment for this sucker, even though I don't really have it at this point. Because
they just forgot a zero.
No, it was a 2 instead of a 4. So it was worth 450, but he listed for 250 initially, and he had it for 250,000 for 5 hours. And I'm sure the reason why it was for 5 hours is because I wasn't the only one who got an offer in those 5 hours.
Every real estate investor that had an auto search
like that. Like, I sent an offer for $290,000. My wife's like, well, shouldn't we talk about it? I go, there's nothing to talk about here. I go, there's nothing to talk about. If this person is going to sell this he's offering 250, I'm going to be the nice gentleman and offer him 290 right now. Just take it. Forget it. I go, it's worth 450 all day long. We'll figure out the rest on the back end. Screw it. Sadly, I think he realized he had a typo, and and he bumped up to 450, and then of course it's just sitting there right now. That's right, Chester. Shut up and take my money. That's right.
Hey, I got a quick question. So when I'm watching some of these podcasts, it goes on to the next one, and I don't catch it right away. And it seems like it either always goes to Bigger Pockets or it goes to Pace. I don't know if you guys ever watch his stuff or not, but sometimes I watch some of his stuff about seller financing and that. And he was, if you listen to him, I'm curious what you guys feel. I mean, I've listened to this one. They keep on coming on, so I've listened to this one like probably 3 or 4 times, and I just feel like it's really unethical. So he'll talk about how he's going to pay back the seller financing, but he says in there specifically that he will pay them back basically when the rate makes sense. So he's not saying he's going to do it in 2 years or 5 years. He'll say like, hey, we'll probably do this in 2 years, but he's very careful with his wording. He'll say like, hey, our goal is to do it in 2 years, or we're going to try to do it in 2 years. He's not going to say we are going to do it in 2 years. And because afterwards they'll do like a review of it and he'll teach his students or whatever. What do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like that's like unethical? Because to me, if I was selling something to him, I'm feeling like, okay, no matter what, he's going to pay me in full in 2 years. Whether he sells it or wholesale or whatever he does. But I'm just wondering how many people he does this to that eventually gets pissed at him. You guys ever heard anything like that, or?
I will just. I mean, I'm going to take a slightly different view. I'm sorry, I'm rambling up this whole time, but okay, who's going to do seller finance? Like, I mean, honestly, who's going to do seller finance?
Well, someone that's got issues
right?
Yep.
Right. There's issues, there's vulnerabilities of some sort, whether it's the property, whether it's them, maybe they don't have enough confidence, maybe they don't want to go through the drama, whatever it may be. He's taking advantage of that. Like, he is 100% taking advantage of the vulnerability and wordsmithing stuff so he doesn't get caught legally. But I mean, I don't know. My opinion, he's a scumbag, and I'll be the first one to punch him in the face. But anyways, go ahead.
I just was like, when I was listening to it, I was like, man, I'm like, I like re-listened to it again. I was like, am I hearing him right? Like, he has no intentions. Like, he'll talk about it afterwards, and he'll say, you've heard me, because I was like, well, how are you going to pay him back? And he's like, I didn't say I was going to pay him back in 2 years. I said when the time is right, basically if the interest rates come down, or I sell it, there's other options obviously. But I was like, dude, these people are feeling like you're gonna pay them back in 2 years or whatever, and if the rates don't go down, you're not paying them back. I just felt like, man, that was very misleading, and I didn't think that was really like professional. It's like you're not gonna get repeat customers. I feel like doing that. I bought under a land contract, and the guy was old, and man, his really good bowling buddy helped him do the whole thing, and he was the attorney. And like I was like trying to make sure he understood everything, and made sure he wasn't gonna have questions when it was all done. Oh, he had questions all the time. He was like, "Well, I don't get this," and I'm like, well, "This is what we agreed to put, upon and stuff like that." And it was a pretty fair deal, and it was set up for 5 years, and we closed it all in 1.5 years. So I feel like it worked out good, and we still talk and stuff like that. But like, man, I just feel like I don't know. I just was listening to this. I was like, man, I wonder what everyone else thinks about it. If they ever hear him say this, or how he says it and stuff like that, or not.
So I didn't hear him say that particular thing, but so I'm an Eagle Scout and he's an Eagle Scout. So he kind of brought me in that way because I don't know, we're kind of like this small percentage of, folks around the country that get to that rank and in Boy Scouts. And so he brought me in and I went into this like it's kind of like an upsell, right? Like you go into this little seminar with Pace Morby, and I'm going to try to be careful about what I say about him because I know there's some folks that are fans of him, but the way that it was done, it just was it was presented as a live seminar, and at the time when it was recorded, it was live. So you see the old scrolling of the chat, and then like he even like starts talking, "Oh, you don't think this is live?" And he says, "Well, just say something and I'll be able to say it again." So after a while though, kind of figured it out. It was just a recording of being live, and it was and that's not really like a huge deal, but I was asking questions within the chat, and I even reached back out to someone later on. It was just very um just not transparent, I guess, is kind of what it was. And I had a bad taste in my mouth from that experience with him. I haven't really I just stopped following him on everything.
So they were playing a recording at the live event?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's they were like, "Hey, this is going to be a live seminar, and but it ended up being like an upsell, but it was just a recording, a recording of a live event in the past. Because I think I remember another like on the chat, I saw something like,
yeah, recorded before a
happy
live
holidays. It was like happy holidays. Somebody said happy holidays, but I'm like listening to it in March, or it was something like that. So I was just kind of laughing at that point.
Interesting. It seems like a lot of people had the same take on him.
Yeah, I haven't really followed him or watched him too much, but I got that feeling a long time ago that it just wasn't kosher, I guess.
Maybe I should stop reading his book. I'm like in the middle of it right now.
No, keep on reading it. See what
no, burn
it.
After a certain point, a lot of these guys, they just like I don't know what it is. It's just maybe like the salesman in them or something. But yeah, like some things it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of catchy or it's new or something that, people may not have heard about or don't know that much about. But yeah, that's really where you gotta, kind of vet what they're saying and like, take it with somewhat of a grain of salt. Because yeah, it just seems like that. Now, I'm not going to say this next part is directly related to uh what Pace is doing, but as the economy starts to deteriorate further and further, it seems like that's going to be the time where all of the what's a good way to put it? Fraudsters start to come out. So, take that for what it's worth. Not to say that Pace is necessarily a fraudster, but this is something that we probably will see more and more, or happen more frequently.
One thing that I do remember, I had some thoughts about that he said was when he was talking about his mentorship program and the fact that people are paying all this money to learn from him, and that he in doing that was creating a deal stream for himself, right? Because he's going to have students coming in not knowing what to do with the deal and bringing it to him, and he would close on the deal. That didn't feel right to me.
Yeah, I heard him even saying that. He said that he was doing that. So, I mean, there's no doubt that the guy is successful, right? But I just, yeah, some of the things that he does, and I don't know, just never have felt comfortable with him after that seminar that I went to.
Yeah.
There's probably ways to do seller finance, I think, that not on the wrong side of ethics. Like, for example, say older landlords that have a property that has like a lot of deferred maintenance, right? And they don't really want to fix it up or something, but they still want an income stream. And if they sell, they might get hit with a lot of taxes. So you could offer them a deal with the seller carry, or if they own the property outright, you could buy it from them and pay them income, and they still get income. You might could structure something that's win-win.
There's two gentlemen, old investors that I started listening to, and they I know that one of them is his name is John Shaw, and the other one his name is Peter. Can't remember his last name, but they appeared. John Shaw appeared on Coach Carson video on YouTube. So I started following him recently, and they talked a lot about self financing, and there's really good information on these gentlemen present, and the way they approach it is from helping the seller. Like, you don't have to give them the seller financing. Yeah, like you don't have to, but like they were given one example where if the seller were selling their house cash and they put their money in the bank, well, that money will give them, like, to their retirement, they will give them $30 per month every month, increasing their retirement so by only $30, because they got the money cash and they put it in the bank. While if they sold it seller financing, they brought about, I remember he said, about $1,000 or somewhere there added to their income, and so he helped them increase their retirement and so on. And so, there's ways to do it that helps people at the same time you make a good deal.
Yeah, Millennial Mike does a lot of seller financing.
That's awesome. And yeah, the more we learn about seller financing, the better we get. So it's always a great resource.
I think this was a really good meeting. There's a lot of stuff talked about tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely very good stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and rest my voice I mean it's starting to deteriorate even as I'm talking right now. So uh like I said, hopefully, next week I'll be in much better shape than I am now, and I'll keep doing some more homework on the wonderful world of insurance. So I will have some more information for everybody hopefully next week.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks, Chester.
Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys next week.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you guys on the West Coast and Hawaii, I've never made it to the end of one of these things before. It's after midnight my time.
We're only 3 hours in.
Yeah.
We have another 2 hours to go. Oh, Mikey and Mark have it easy. It's only, what is it for you guys, Mikey? 6?
Yeah, 6.
6:15.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have another
Oh.
6 hours to go before it's midnight there.
That's me. Yeah, I'm on the same time zone as them for this week and next week.
Oh, there
and
you
then I
go.
go back to that West Coast time zone. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey guys, I wanted to ask you something because this week we were discussing creating trust and things like that, which I don't want to go into that because we'll stay here all night. But I was thinking about getting a safe deposit box to like put a hard copy of like all the passwords and all the different things, like that book that Dion makes about his properties. What do you think about that? Because like if something happened to me, obviously someone's got to start picking up the pieces, and I don't want to just give someone the doors to the kingdom while I'm still alive, you know? So someone today at work was like on 50-50 that he's gonna make it, and I started thinking, wow, this is this is real. Like it could happen anytime. What do you think about a safety deposit box, or do you guys have any plans like that for something like that?
I think it's a good idea, Michelle. I should be doing that too. Like a deed and things that comes in a certificate that comes from the title company and then all that. I have it in my file cabinet, but unless I have a fire safe file cabinet, I probably should put everything into a safe. That's probably easier than try to have it in my garage. What does everybody else do?
We've been thinking about that too. We haven't moved on it as fast as we should have, but my mom had her properties in a trust, and in her trust, she named me the executor of her will, and that made it a lot easier. After she passed, I was able to get access to her accounts and be in control of managing her properties. When she passed away, she had 3 properties, and one of the properties, the one I mentioned in Texas earlier, she didn't have in the trust when she died, as she forgot to put that in there. But luckily, the attorney was able to get that transferred. She went to court, got it transferred into trust, so then we had control of it. And just from that respect, my mom always said she didn't trust banks. She didn't like banks, but when she died, she had like 5 different bank accounts, and I had to find them all, and luckily in the banks, she put me on with her on her accounts. I didn't know any of that at the time, but that made it easier. And Cynthia and I, or a few weeks ago, the guys were talking about a SOP, right? A standard operating procedure for if something bad did happen. I think that it's beneficial to have a plan. We always think tomorrow's going to come, but it's not guaranteed. And I think I spoke to my mom's attorney about setting up a trust for Cynthia and I, and that I guess that what would you call it? The progression of things happening, like if I die, then Cynthia obviously is going to take over everything, and then our son, if something happens to both of us or whatever. And it's a lot, I guess, depending how big your family is, because I have 2 other daughters, and Frank will be, he's the one that's been putting in the time and learning this stuff with us. So he would be in control of everything. And then you don't have, like my mom put that crazy thing in there about if anybody had objections to her wishes, that they would get nothing and different things like that, or they would get $1. I guess that's a thing. But no matter how good your family gets along, a death in the family can change on a dime. Me and my sisters always got along really well, and they respected my mom's wishes, but there were points of contention when, for example, I took care of her estate, didn't mean to take care of it for so long, but it was 5 years before we ended up selling her properties and giving all her heirs their share of whatever she left for them. And sometimes there were little nudges like, when are we going to get this thing settled and stuff like that, but they didn't really have a leg to stand on to push me in that direction. So I think that is one of the most important things. And depending who's in your circle, that person that you can trust to. I mean, I know they have to go by the letter of the law, but some people might find ways to, I don't know, get around some of the things that are set forth in the will. So I think it's super important. And Zuber used to have on regularly, what's his name, Rylis? He's a trust attorney or something like that here in California. So I was going to reach out to him as well, because there's so many things after the fact that I forget what they're called, but there's a lot of different rules and ways to protect your assets after you pass, and depending how you leave them to your heirs, that could be a problem. And like I said, it took 5 years to sell my mom's stuff, but and we settled that probably a year ago. But then just this year, the county where we live sent me a letter, and they wanted more information because they were thinking they were gonna reassess her property here in California, and that we might have to pay taxes on what we got. But luckily, the way my mom set it up, they ended up deciding they weren't going to have to reassess the value of the property at the time of her passing. So that was in 2018. So, I think it's important to find out all that information, just as important as it is to find out all these different things about investing. Just investing in itself, that's a whole nother world, like umbrella policies and different other things that we can protect ourselves with.
I recently had a relative pass away, and then I saw the frustration and kind of the hard work that his wife had to put in for trying to figure everything out. And then I also have someone that I know that's going to do the ultimate house hack, as Deanne would say, and unsure how long he's going to be doing that for. But the mess that situation is, and trying to corral all this stuff and just try to get it all figured out and where it's going to go, and then all his bills, and oh my goodness, it is a mess. So I I have a safe in my basement, and the other day my dad had to come grab something, and I was like, "Oh, it's in the safe," and he's like, "Well, I don't know how to get into it," and he was like scared to even get into it. But I'm like, you know what? Like, you guys talk about this, like totally, like all the passwords should be in there, and like at least the properties, and the tenants' numbers, and what banks got what, and all that stuff. Definitely, something should be put together. So.
Thank you. I don't know why I started thinking about that, like sitting on my computer, gonna notice that my one duplex, the water was due, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't set up an automatic. And maybe I'm just missing something because I just got them right this last 2 months or 3 months. And so I was thinking like, shoot, I have to automate all this stuff and make sure someone has the passwords to check in case they need to increase the amount that's getting paid, or I don't know, all this stuff crossed my mind, and I was like,
Michelle, you're the most caring landlord I've ever heard of. I've heard a lot of people, talk about estate planning, but I've never heard anyone say who's going to pay the water bill for the tenants if I pass.
I mean, if they don't have water, then the rent won't get paid.
Yeah, well,
it's
when
like,
I go, I want it to be a tragedy, right?
Yeah, but if you set up an
I'm
auto
just
payment,
kidding.
Michelle, if your bank account is frozen because you are deceased, then it's not going to be deducted either. So it is always important, you kind of get the whatever the operation procedure.
Michelle just got the Landlord of the Year award.
I don't know if you guys, I remember I had that young tenant die. She was 30 years old, and luckily her parents lived upstairs, but like I would have never thought her to ask like next of kin information, or anything like that. So I had the parents upstairs to take care of everything. But I mean, that's something I'm asking now is like, okay, like if something would happen, I need
That's a
numbers.
good point.
I need numbers to get a hold
Who
of.
you gonna call?
Yeah, I would have known. I would, man, I would have been like, okay, I guess I'm gonna store this stuff for I think it's 2 months and then let it go. Like I have nothing else to do, nowhere else to call or anything. So obviously you might see people stopping over. You put a note on the door is what one of the guys told me to do, and stuff like that. But so that's kind of something I'm starting to ask now too.
That's another good point. Yeah, the units that I inherited, I don't have that information, but there's the one unit that I rented myself. I did ask so on his first, like on his application, I do have, in case of an emergency, you have where, like, who do I reach? So I think I do have that, but on the tenants that I inherited, there's nothing like that. I just did a renewal for 2, and now that I'm remembering this, I'm gonna add that to the renewal. Like who is your, in case of an emergency that doesn't live at the property that you would like me to call? So yeah, that's another good point.
So it's the emergency contact that is missing sometimes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I have
I
part of
started
my
with
lease.
yeah. You do have it?
I do have it part of the lease. I think one of the areas asks for emergency contact and stuff like that. So maybe it's better just to have a standard there and for any tenant. But I noticed it because that's part of the lease here in Texas. It's just there's a place for it.
I know my application has it, but my lease does not. So, like Michelle's saying, my tenants that I inherited, I don't have that information for, but my tenants I place, I have that information for. So,
yeah, okay. So can you amend or revise the lease or or is it possible to send we call it addendum to the lease to add that info? Is that something can be added to the inherited tenants? That's just one page.
I think even just a text message, or something like that, and then put it on a spreadsheet or something would be suffice.
Probably, you probably just ask them who's your emergency contact.
Yeah.
That having to put it on the lease.
I used to have a separate sheet that just just explain. You know, here in Washington State, they say because of the earthquake risk or something, always ask for out of state contact if in case something happens. And then I used to have just a conversation and then say how important it is that if anything happens, you know, could you give me, say your relatives out of state and maybe one in state. I don't think they really mind.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. The other thing that you made me think of, Michelle, is like when like Cynthia's planning on helping with a lot of the responsibilities of what I do each month, and even simple things like paying the mortgages on the properties. A couple of them I do on my phone. One in St. Louis, we have the water bills in our name, and I pay that on my phone. So, you know, if she ever, I mean, if something happened to me before she started learning all this stuff, she's not gonna, you know these things that, you know,
Yeah.
she's gonna have to cut off my thumb and use it to get into my phone, and then things like that.
Freeze it.
I was gonna,
Mommify it.
yeah, I was gonna share all my passwords with you guys, but I realized that Mark's still here, so we won't be doing that.
Not today.
Not today. Yeah, he's a good sport. And Mark actually was saying today or the other day that about the firehouse, you know, and if all the other firefighters aren't making fun of you, then they don't like you. So Mark knows we love him.
Well, so glad that he's used to that then.
I know he sends a lot my way, so I have a little bit to send back.
Yeah.
Um,
He certainly picks on Cynthia a lot.
they're best friends,
Yes.
at least in his head. I don't know. I don't know.
He must not be listening anymore.
We're safe. Yeah, she must like him. She wouldn't put up with anything if she didn't like someone. All right. Well, it looks like we're winding down. You guys have anything else? I'm not in any rush, but dead airspace. My CMO is going to get on me for all the dead airspace.
Who's your CMO?
My son, my sequel, Francisco
Oh.
Jose Contreras II.
Oh, okay.
My chief marketing officer.
Yeah, Frank, but that was one of the things we were talking about the list. Like you'll have a list of things to do, then that list gets too long. So I'll make another list, and then that list gets too long, and then it gets mixed up with all my notes, and then it's like, well, I gotta start all over again now.
Yeah, Cynthia just got me a couple of new little binders because for that reason, after you and I spoke last Sunday, she found a couple and they have, you know, tags for the different sections, but I've been using them to write down ideas about the work band confessions and then regular Zooms and then Dion questions. He gets his own section, you know, and things like that. So hopefully I'll be able to keep it straight as long as I can remember it. Because I was telling Mikey, you know, I'll be driving around and come up with an idea for a video or something, and by the time I pull over, I forgot what I was thinking. So don't get old.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank, you're doing awesome.
Doing great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. Well, we'll see. I know this was recorded. I have to check in with Zuber because I think we'll be able to do some editing, and if he wants, because we had a lot of really good topics tonight, and he might want a section of it here or there to put on the school platform. And then of course we'll be pulling stuff out to put on our channel too. So I know if we'll be editing out anybody who doesn't want to be on, on the recording. So don't worry about that. I think that's probably about all I have.
Thanks so much for hosting.
Yeah, thanks for staying so long. You're right.
That's right.
And it's like this every week, so you better get some rest. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll see you guys out in the live somewhere.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. It was great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye,
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.